Welcome to Moments, the podcast, where we have conversations that matter. Hi, everyone. My name is Vasia Makris, your host and founder of Moments, a creative agency bridging art, culture, and technology. Joined by my amazing co-host, HardArt, each week we host a live X space deep diving into hot topics that are shaping the Web3 ecosystem.
GM. Damn, Milton, you always surprise me with your song choices, but not gonna lie, I think today I was expecting more of like a therapeutic tranquil. That was a sad take a little bit. I don't know. We're going to bring the mood up a little bit more. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you everyone for joining. Hello. Appreciate you guys tuning in. A lot of familiar faces. I'm going to ask you guys a favor. If we can tweet out the space, comment down below. Let's massage the algo, as Milton likes to say. I also just want to bring some quick attention up top. I have pinned up two tweets. One is the usual for those that are not familiar with Moments, the podcast. And I guess let me introduce myself for those that are not familiar. My name is Vasia Makris. I'm your host. And we are here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. One of the pinned tweets up top is for Moments, the podcast. It's essentially just a thread of all the different platforms in which we record and upload the episodes to each week. And the whole point is to essentially create an archive of these really interesting conversations that I think are very applicable down the line as well. I'm actually very curious how some of these are going to age down the line and would love to listen to them later on. But instead of things getting lost in the Twitterverse, we really wanted to just capture the moment and make sure that we have a space each week where the community also feels very comfortable in having certain conversations that we think are essential and making sure we are growing in the right direction as an industry and as a community. So that's a little bit about the podcast. I also have a newsletter sign up pinned up top. We send out every week a newsletter just reminding people of the space, any updates that we are also doing as an agency. So a little backstory for those not familiar, Moments originally started as an agency. We still have that going on behind the scenes. We've had the ability to work with some pretty cool brands and creators, including Trevor Jones, Transient Labs, Gabe Weiss, and I'm hopefully very excited to announce soon some brand partnerships and collaborations for 2025. So stay tuned for that. I just want to very quickly hand the mic to my co-host, Milton. You let him introduce himself, and I just want to thank him very quick for taking the time each week to spend a couple of hours, to be honest, because these spaces go long. But appreciate him taking the time and just being an amazing co-host and creating a vibe for us always. So Milton, GM, how are you?
GM, glad to be here once again. Looking forward to kicking this off. I was talking to you earlier about how I'm going to be taking lots of notes because I probably need to practice more than I preach a lot of the ideas that we're going to speak about today. But I am a crypto art collector. I've been in crypto since 2014, buying crypto art since 2020, and a community builder, and been producing some content, mainly interviews with people within the Web3 ecosystem. And occasionally I'm lucky enough to work with Vasia on a team like Trevor Jones. So glad to be here once again and kick this convo off.
Okay, so before we jump in, I'm going to ask everyone to just quickly in the comments below, guys, we all know people that, I mean, myself included, would appreciate some of the information from this conversation. I think it's very important for all of us as a community to have. So I'm going to ask, just tag a couple of friends that maybe would be interested to jump on today's space. I'm also going to open up the stage in a bit to everyone listening down below, because this is really meant to be a community space and something that we all benefit from just by having a conversation together. So we can just jump right into the topic of today. It's a little different. Normally, Milton and I select a tweet of the week that's been kind of going viral, and that kickstarts the conversation. But this week, honestly, Twitter was a little slow. There was nothing that stood out to me that I felt like I wanted to really take an opportunity and focus an entire episode on. So we decided to dial it back to something more of like a timeless topic, something that's obviously applicable outside of the Web3 ecosystem, but also something that, because of the nature of Web3, crypto, and NFTs, I think was even more important to really focus on. So today we're talking about the importance of mental health and in general, just having a healthy lifestyle and how to do so. So before we kick off the conversation, I want to really, again, set the stage and emphasize why this topic is specifically so important for everyone in Web3 and crypto. I feel like I'm stating the obvious, by describing the nature of the industry and just how it amplifies the importance of having a good routine, having a good toolkit of things that will help you manage stress and navigate the everyday disasters of Web3. So Milton, why don't you tell us a little bit more about why it's important, specifically for people in Web3, to have a really important, mental health infrastructure in place?
Yeah, so we are a brand new industry. That's number one. This space is still very, very young, and we're at the forefront of it. So you can imagine there's going to be lots of twists and turns and narrative shifts. There's no roadmap per se. Don't we love that word in Web3, roadmap? All the PFP projects have to have those at least, or the meme coins too. But really, here, there's no roadmap. So we are flying by the seat of our pants. And that obviously brings a lack of stability. So it's very, very difficult to plan in advance. And people are constantly having to adapt and pivot. On this show previously, if you've been tuning in, you've seen a lot of pivots from some big companies like Foundation that we've talked about. Rodeo has been a big shakeup in the industry, so people are trying to wrap their heads around that. So if you've been following along, you know that we've already seen in just in 16 episodes, in 16 weeks, we've already seen quite a few kinks in the road that people have had to adapt to. So artists, collectors, investors, builders alike, just when they think they have it figured out, something brand new pops up and completely changes the game. So if you've been following the news recently, you just saw that OpenSea, for example, is trying to become Blur 2.0, I suppose. So everybody's infighting a little bit about that right now. I'm seeing thumbs down. That's the vibe that I got from most everybody on CT. So sounds accurate. Rachel Wood, I see you. But yeah, it's really tough to plan, right? Not to mention the financial instability of it all. If this industry weren't chaotic enough, the currency that we're pricing the art in is a cryptocurrency, which is obviously volatile. So high risk, high reward there. But a lot of times we see ourselves down in the dumps just based on pricing. So this financial roller coaster really takes a toll. And this is, again, applicable to artists, to crypto bros, and meme coiners like myself. So it's really fast paced, 24-hour market. Stock market is 9:30 to 4 p.m. trading hours. So that really helps you have a realistic day, more of a 9 to 5 traditional style day. Whereas in crypto, we're trading 24 hours, which means a lot of times you can never leave the screen, especially in this volatility. So crypto and NFTs have changed that considerably and really have bred this FOMO mentality and a mentality where you can hardly ever break away from your screen. So that definitely takes a toll, and I think it's important as ever to implement some healthy tactics to make sure that you are uh, taking care of yourself first. So, Vasia, I'll hand it back to you on some of the practices that you use to do that.
Yeah, wow. We just made Web3 sound so appealing. I love that we're trying to onboard people into this space. Okay, so wait, how do you stay sane in this type of environment? On a positive note, you're not alone. If you're going to go crazy, at least know that we're all going to go crazy together. So I think that's definitely the silver lining. But no, in all seriousness, in today's conversation, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some personal stories. And I'm going to actually start off the conversation by sharing myself, and then we can pass around the mic. I would love to obviously open up the stage. I'm seeing so many people already requesting, which I love, guys. Thank you so much. Everyone will have a turn to share. And I don't want to say at the very end, because I don't want the very end to be about tools and resources. I actually want a majority of the conversation to also be about, the positive things and things that I've learned along the way. I want to hear from the crowd and see what you guys learn. I see F. Dot in the crowd. We actually did some breath work in Marfa together, which Milton and I still talk about. So I want to make sure that this is, again, an open dialogue, a good conversation. For those that maybe aren't able to participate and join the stage, feel free throughout the conversation. Just drop your comments on the thread. I definitely go through those throughout the space as well to make sure we have everyone's input. Okay, so I am going to start off by sharing my personal story and why specifically in this last year, this whole topic about mental health and just taking care of ourselves became so important to me. So in 2024, it was a bit of a year where I was kind of forced to slow down and heal. For those that are more familiar, my journey in Web3 began in 2021. And for those that know me, my background kind of started at the Crypt Gallery, which was a constantly hustling, running around. It was events, curations, production. And for a very long time, it was a one-man show. I was doing a lot of the operational components by myself. So I didn't take breaks. I physically didn't even get up and leave my computer in most cases, until I wrapped everything up. And it just felt like I had, the never ending to-do list. And no matter how many hours I would put in, it felt like it was never enough. Forget having time for a social life or going to the gym. I wasn't even making time to eat or sleep. And I'm also, for those that don't know, a born and bred New Yorker. So this is glorified behavior, this hustle mentality that we celebrate. It's a cool celebrated thing to pull an all-nighter and take a double shot of espresso like that. That's the breakfast of champions. I'm sorry. The whole "I'll sleep when I'm dead" was literally the quote that I used to give my very concerned family members when they used to check in on me. And so what happened? What made me pivot? I literally crashed and burned. My body was shutting down. I had a couple of health issues, unfortunately, and it forced me to stop. And I'm sure I'm not the only person in the room that has experienced this. So my body literally just couldn't take the abuse anymore. Like it or not, I had to make some changes. And I took a few months off of just laying low, really taking care of myself to get back on my feet before opening Moments agency back in April. So in retrospect, I know this had to be the journey. I know it had to happen like this because my old habits and behaviors were just going to lead to the same outcome. I was going to crash and burn. Burnout was inevitable. And that type of lifestyle isn't sustainable. So by taking the time to really implement more of a healthy routine, learning a lot of tools to better navigate moments of extreme high stress and pressure, I'm essentially able to now lay the infrastructure down to not just survive, but really thrive, especially in business, especially in Web3. So that's a bit of where I'm coming from and why I feel like this topic is so important. I am going to get off the soapbox and share the mic. I'm going to give it to Milton. And I just want to emphasize that the second half of this space is where I really want to talk more about easy to implement practices and tools that I use that I think literally have changed my life. And a lot of these are things that zero cost, free. It's something you can literally do today. And I just wanted to really emphasize that for people. So we are going to talk more in a little bit regarding what kind of tools and resources that we can use. But Milton, please, Mr. Meme Coiner, I can't even imagine the ups and downs that you've gone through. Please tell us more. I'll let you share a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief, but my main story, the mental challenges that I've faced in this space was really wanting to participate in the first cultural item that I found in crypto, which was crypto art in 2020. Most people know, I joke, I came to speculate, but my sell button broke. And so I ended up keeping everything. I had a Bitcoin mindset because I was a Bitcoiner for so long to where you buy and you hold. And so speculation, that playbook kind of went out the window, and I kept everything I had. I did leverage Bitcoin to do that, and I ended up losing very, very big, uh, like 90% of my Bitcoin holdings that I'd been buying and saving since 2014. So that was that was a blow, a kick in the dick, if you will. So that hurt pretty bad. I almost did the opposite of you, Vasia. I actually just tried to plug out completely, and I kind of turned off for almost a year. It was really rough, and I know I'm not the only one, and I'm not here to tell a sob story. I'm just telling everyone that getting wrecked sucks, so practice safety first. But yeah, it's been rebuilding. It's been about rebuilding. So uh, yeah, I'm interested to hear. I know Vasia, like I said, I'm going to be taking lots of notes because I can still, I think I know a lot of these things, but practicing them is tougher than preaching. So I'm looking forward to hearing a lot of the comments from the crowd today. I know people have been on both sides, the hustle, the grind, the burnout. And then also, I think the wrecked is part of this space that we live in. Unfortunately, we see it every day. So yeah, I'm curious to hear opinions. I know we're going to have a lot of good feedback today from people, what we can do to implement ways to stay healthy in this industry, because we do need to persist and survive. I've talked about the war of attrition, and I think this chaotic style that we live is part of that. So I want all my friends that are in the room that I see here today, Erica Rand, Rachel, F. Manic, Julia Sky, Steven, Plotsky, Abrahani, Catalina, Jose, Yet. I want all you and more to be with us and for us to grow. So Vasia joked in the beginning, this didn't sound super appealing when we were describing it, but it is a very fun space. We just got to make sure that we're doing this for the long haul, and we'll get into some of the ways that we can practice that.
Kick in the dick, you classy man, you. No, I think it's very accurate. I'm sure a lot of people can relate. And the fact that we have the word wrecked in our industry being thrown around so casually because it's such a common behavior, basically. Like people get wrecked. Yeah, no big deal. People get hit by cars. No big deal. Like that's not healthy. But anyway, I do want to, again, start the conversation off by just shared experiences, guys. No one is here alone. Let's swing the mic around and just share your experiences. If there's something that a challenge you faced and maybe how you overcame it, or just a safe space to share, to vent. If you want to ask for advice, again, I'm going to encourage those that can't come on stage to feel free in the comments, and we'll share more about tools and resources toward the later part. But I saw Rachel shoot her hand up first. So Rachel, you want to start us off and share? GM, how are you?
Good morning. Hello. Thank you so much for having me up. I won't be too long because I am practicing better burnout preventative methods, and that is getting a little bit more sleep than I have been. So it is about like almost 1:30 here in the morning, so I won't be on too long. But I just wanted to be up on this podcast and support you guys because I think this is such a great topic to talk about. And we do need to talk about it more because, as friends, as people who talk and see each other on the timeline all the time, it is just really good to just remind each other that we are human. We have bad days. We are unmotivated. We get wrecked, all of that. I think this is really wonderful. So thank you for creating this space. I guess I really just wanted to come up here and say that um, preventing burnout, especially in this space, since we have such high highs and low lows, and since it is the wild west of just everything can happen in either direction, um, preventing it is probably not going to be possible for anyone. But I do think that as we go through the highs and lows, we need to surround ourselves with really good people. And that's what I found. And I think a lot of people have found within the space is that they have found their tribe, their community of people, whether that's in group DMs or on the timeline or, taking it off this Bird app. It's really those connections and those people who you might not ever meet in real life, but they are the ones who have helped me when I felt burnout or when I felt a win or when I felt unmotivated or when I felt just overwhelmed. And that's what has kept me here. And I think a lot of people in the beginning, just in any social situation, whether that's on social media or in real life, we get a little overwhelmed when there's so much out there, when there's so much possibilities and there's so much happening. And I have, for the past like 2 years, I think, have been encouraging people to stay true to themselves, but also put up boundaries because it doesn't mean they're not going to get everything. It just means that they're creating a safe space. And those boundaries can include other people, it can include avenues of support within their community. And I think that is what really helps me and a lot of my friends in this space go through some really hard losses and some really hard times. I would not be here if it weren't for some amazing people like you two, Milton and Vasia, and F. Dot down, up on stage here. He does amazing breath work. Like Erica, like so many great people here who have directly and also unintentionally helped me through burnout, through those bad days, through those hard days. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone because I might not engage with you every day. You might not get a lot of likes or comments, but people see you guys, people see your content, and that is just really valuable. I want to encourage everyone to keep putting forth those good vibes, keep putting forth their art. Now I'm a little off topic, but yes, basically burnout, community, your network, and we're going to get through all of this together. Truly, truly, that is what I really believe, and I can't be more thankful and grateful for everyone who has been along this crazy ride with me.
Rachel, you started us off super strong. First of all, thank you for staying up and for joining and always supporting and showing love. It means the world. And you nailed it. I mean, the community and tribe, that is crucial, I think, just in general in life. And there was a book I was reading recently talking about blue zones, which are essentially the areas of the world where people live the longest. And the remember one thing, not necessarily fitness and health, but it was community, like elderly people in their 90s, 100 plus. And it was just going out and seeing others and having that community and really that family essentially that you cultivate. And I specifically really love the fact that you said ways in which people unintentionally help each other. And you're right, you might post something and someone else is going to see it and it might just hit them hard that day. And like maybe it was exactly what they needed to see. So I think it's just a matter of really putting out those positive vibes and that energy because you never know who's watching and how it might impact them. Rachel, I saw the hand shoot right back up. So go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. I love the blue zones. Like, definitely, I love reading more about that, and I encourage everyone else to look into that. But I also just want to do a little caveat and say that when I say like find your people, find your tribe, find your community, I read somewhere that people can only hold about 5 really truly deep connections with people. And I know online it might seem like you are connected to so many more people, but when you think about who do you really feel connected and safe and supported by, I think if you can find 5 people, at least 5 people, you can wake up and GM every morning and know that they're going to GM back and they're going to want the best for you, um, and they're not going to be like tearing you down or backstabbing you or trying to sell you out or use you in ways that you don't want to be used. 5 people, that is totally doable for everyone in the space, and it will change your life if you can find at least 5 people, not more, because that's like a lot, but like 5 people. And yeah, that's where I'm like boundaries. You need to find those boundaries. You need to find your people, um, and once you do, I think that helps a lot. So yeah, thank you. I am going to go sleep, but I'll be in the listeners, and I can't wait to listen to everyone else on the stage and their thoughts.
Awesome, Rachel. Get some rest for sure. Sleep should be a priority. And that's really fascinating, the 5. I didn't even realize it, but that's kind of in my head how. So I don't want to say group people, but essentially like you have your inner circle, like your really tight core of really quality. And then, the further out you go in that circle, then there's people, more at arm's length, etc. But it's all about the support system. And something I constantly say, like I wouldn't be here without my support system and the people that have helped me get here for no reason, just because they show kindness. So I love that you brought that up. I did want to continue sharing the mic. I think Manic was next. We'll say GM to him real quick. How are you?
Hey, GM. I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm excited for today's conversation. So
Yeah,
go
me
ahead. What did you
too.
want to share with us? I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I saw the space title, I guess, yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I gotta attend that. Yeah, so I'm gonna be in the space coming up on 4 years in just a few days. You know, I have an interesting, I guess, look or take on this whole thing is because I have severe mental illness. You know, I have bipolar 1, and so I get the extreme highs and extreme lows and stuff like that. So this space, as we were saying, is its highs and lows. So I don't know why. I guess maybe that's why I fit in, because I can ride highs and lows. But that's how I found my tribe here. So it is a crazy space, and like it takes a certain type of person to be able to like withstand it. Like, I'm an artist in the space, that's why I came into the space, and I've stayed focused somehow. Like I like with all the craziness, because we all know there's like so much that goes on, there's always something new. But when I came into this space, I was told from the beginning, when I came into this space, like, you could either sell your art on Ethereum or Polygon, from what I remember. I think that was just it, or maybe Tezos. But everybody was like, yeah, just sell on ETH. And so I took the advice. I just sold on ETH. And I've done that ever since. I never like hopped around really like that. And then like with the whole meme coin thing, like I didn't really get into that. I just stayed focused and grinding and focusing on my art. And I'm like having the most success right now. Like right now I'm freaking trending on Super Rare. I'm like number 5 on the 7 day. I'm making sales. Like, I'm doing great in this market. And because I've stayed focused, I'm hungry, I show up, and I'm not burnt out. I'm not burnt out. That's the thing. I think I'm like numb, but because I'm passionate about what I do, and that this whole thing has just become a routine. It's like part of it's my job. But I love my job. I show up every day here. I love to share my art with the world. I share my art on Twitter, and I share it on Instagram. It's something I do. People enjoy it, so I do it. I'm I mean, and then like with I have mental illness, like I said, And so for me, like, and I have an addictive personality, and this app is it's addictive, so you want to come on it all the time. So like I gotta just make sure for me, like with the mania, you know, like my brain doesn't want to shut off, and so I gotta make sure I get enough sleep because sometimes, I'll get like 3 hours of sleep and I'm ready to go. And I love making art, so I just want to always be making art. So I spend like 6 to 8 hours a day making art because I'm obsessive and I love doing it. But no, this space has been the NFT space has been such a blessing to me. It's just I always say this, it's helped me grow so much as a person in so many ways. Like it's built my self confidence, my self esteem. Like when I came into this space in the beginning, I came on Clubhouse. I was like I was pretty broken. I was healing as a person, but I was still kind of broken. But over the years, these past 4 years, like I've grown so much, and like people in this space help build me up and make me believe in myself. And through believing in myself, like I I'm starting to have success, and I'm like making my dreams a reality, and it's like it's just truly amazing. So I guess it's easy to get distracted because there's so much going on, but just for like I guess I'm talking to artists, like just remember why you came into the space and try, like, also you have a reputation, make sure you like keep your reputation clean, because I built up a reputation over the years. I don't want to start turning my whole timeline to like meme coins and all this crazy stuff, because then people are not going to take you seriously and like what is he doing. So that's like I'm very aware of like how I move in the space, because I, like I said, I, I have I have a family, and I have I'm trying to make this thing work out. So everything I do, I want to make sure I do it right. So and I'm doing this whole thing with, like I said, my mental illness, and I have a wife and son. So it makes this way more challenging. So if I could have success in this thing, like anybody can, it's just a matter of like make sure you're focused, and also get, like, if you can get into some kind of personal development, like I've become big into that. I listen to audio books and anything to get my mental personal development is important. But that's what I have to say.
Thank you for sharing and for being so vulnerable. Yeah, personal development for me is huge, and it's on my list at the end of things that I'm going to be mentioning. But I'm really happy. First of all, congratulations on the success on the super rare drop you just mentioned and trending. And I just want to, if you want to drop it in the thread as well, just share your art and share anything. I'm going to encourage everyone, if they want to just be commenting down below. I want to also, as we kind of open up and have these conversations, we're at the end of the day getting to know each other as well. So I want to just encourage people to be sharing a little bit more about themselves. And that's, again, part of fostering the community. So we're all about that. Manik, thank you for sharing. And I'm going to circle back to personal development. Go ahead. Did you want to add anything? I saw you unmute real quick. Okay. I did see some other hands up. I don't know. I think Erica may be next, and then we'll make our way around the room. But Erica, hi. Thank you for joining.
Hi there. I don't know you very well, Vasia, so I'm really glad to have a chance to meet you. And I'm just so happy you're holding a space like this, because to be totally honest, sometimes I'll see this space in the middle of work. I'm like, oh my God, that's great that's happening. But I was like, no, I just feel like I've kind of talked to a lot of people who have been stressed out lately. And so I just really wanted to jump up because I'm a health and wellness freak, to be honest. And let me think here. So I just wanted to also say, Manik, that was a beautiful share, and I think it's really powerful what you said. I mean, to be having that kind of level of health, kind of, what do you call it? Sorry, I'm a little sick. My brain's not working. What's it called? Sort of challenges, and working through that and like using it to your advantage. And it's just super, super cool. I mean, I hear you on the broken part, like I thought I'd be vulnerable on this call and just to be honest about something I've kind of like not talked a lot about, but I've been in this space also for about 4 years. And for the last like 2.5 years, I was in the space, but just like every day it was a struggle because we lost everything we owned, and I was taking care of my dad who was bedbound, and so I'd be kind of like on spaces, and then also I was trained by doctors to kind of like, help my dad with he had 3 tubes coming out of him, so I was trained on everything with him. So I'd be like troubleshooting like a tube issue and also running a space, and I mean it was so challenging, but I feel like this was the perfect community to have as a container for that. Because for some reason I was like, oh, it's actually not that hard, and it's actually really healing, because it's just like, be yourself and you're all good, And so, sometimes I'd be an absolute mess, like you, Manic. I'll sleep 2 hours because, my dad had major cognitive issues and, just wanted to make sure he felt safe. So I would be getting calls like every other night in the middle of the night, just like, oh, he just wants to check in and say hi, So it was really, really, really hard. And on top of that, I'm not even going to go there. It's something I can't talk about, but it was kind of even more difficult than that. Sort of a family member that was really sort of challenging and challenged and going through hard times, and creating like just absolute mayhem. So, I just feel the same way as you, Manic. Like if I could like do anything during this period, then I felt like it built confidence as well. Cause it's like, okay, like you can just be going through absolute hell and still kind of cobbling along, and it's cool. And I just also wanted to say, I love what you said, Rachel, about boundaries. It took me a really long time to learn that. I'm from Costa Rica and raised in Minneapolis, and both of those places are like notorious for being like Minnesota nice and like, oh, it's all good, So in the past, I would just like let people steamroll me and destroy me and not tell my side of the story. I still pretty much do that. But at least what I do now is if someone's really, really like kind of out of control and you're like, there's no changing, when you realize and you can look deep and go like, you know what? Like they're not going to get there and they're not going to care about my well-being. So like just being able to finally like draw some boundaries, because it obviously like love and kindness toward others is invaluable. And I think one of the most important things on planet Earth, but don't forget about the love and kindness toward yourself. And if you need to have space and boundaries, like that's absolutely perfect. And, like at the end of the day, you kind of have to just take care of yourself. And I think the single largest illusion out there is that you're not alone. Literally in terms of psychologists and spiritual people, and so just trying to remember that even if we wake up and you're like, what the fuck, nobody cares about me at all, which I feel often sometimes, I'll just feel like, wait, I can't do, but then like Rachel said, you go to your 5 people that are just unconditional love and you're like, oh, what am I even talking about? So for me, it's definitely checking in with best friends is one of the most important things. And then I'd say probably the second most important is dealing with my body. So I've also kind of had this chronic illness that's how we lost everything. We had this huge toxic mold thing happen. So our doctor was like, you have a little one, you should just throw away everything you own. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But it was such an awesome spiritual challenge and we just did it. And, and it's super cool because it's also one of the biggest blessings I've ever had, because when you clear everything out, when you start to add it back in, you're like, I need this, and you start to reestablish and understand like what you actually need and what you actually don't at all. And so I don't know, just like I've spent years and years, like I think I was a really unhealthy like New Yorker from 95 to 2005, just like running around and partying. And of course my body could handle it more at the time. And now I'm like, okay, I have to realize what my body's limits are. So yeah, sleep is number one. I can go from like lacking a bunch of sleep and thinking everything's horrible to one good night of sleep and like, what was I thinking? So that's probably obvious, but I just thought I'd say it. Meditation and yoga are critical for me. I feel like, who said that? Mae West, I think, said like, when in doubt, take a bath. I could not agree more. Like, I feel like when I need to fully reset, I'll like pile in the Epsom salts and essential oils. Thought I'd mention like, the citruses are antidepressants. So I love green mandarin. Actually, what's it called? From doTERRA. It's really specific, but it's magical. I mean, it's like when I was going through the hardest stuff and the only one there when my dad was passing, these are the ones I was using, like, and clary sage, peppermint, lavender, I think lang lang, spikenard, or others that I use on the regular for like kind of like detoxing and chilling out the nervous system. And my friend always says, eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired. And I was like, duh. So that's really, I think, critical. And I love that you're going to jump into the personal development side, because I'm also a freak who's done that for like 20 years. So I'd love to hear and jump into that. But that's about it. You know what? I'll just say one more thing, which is just kind of like, it's like when you hear about suicide or these, when people reach like a crisis, and it's like, if anyone's having a crisis, I am trained a little bit in sort of how to deal with that and help with that. So I'm not like a full blown psychologist or anything, but if someone's just like, I don't know what to do, like, please do call me, like, cause you can call on Twitter or whatever, just blow me up, because I just think knowing that people are out there if stuff goes south, might be helpful. So that's all I got.
Eric, I'm so happy you joined the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is our first time connecting, but I'm really happy. Just thank you for sharing. And there's a quote that goes, make your mess your message. And I'm a big advocate for that. I think we all have a story, and just being, brave enough to share to a stage of strangers, especially. I really admire it, because I'm sure a lot of people in their own ways can resonate with some of the things that you said and connect. And someone might be going through something similar. So I really love that you just mentioned that the DMs are open and to be able to reach out. I also am very much on the same page with you. I know doTERRA. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm very much in the holistic kind of approach and getting to the root cause of a lot of things. So it sounds like we have a lot in common. Yeah.
Sounds like it. I love it. Thank you.
Of course. And one thing specifically that you mentioned was kind of this feeling of isolation, and especially Web3 being remote. It's a whole decentralized system. A lot of us maybe, work alone. I mean, my office is literally like the basement at the house converted into an office. And if I don't leave, I don't see anybody majority of the time. So I think it's definitely important to talk more about, these types of components, and how do we make sure that we don't go days without seeing someone, or the importance of reaching out to certain people. So thank you for mentioning that. I think especially applicable to our industry. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure exactly who's next. So I'm going to call Julia next, and we'll make sure we hit everyone. Hey, Julia. How are you?
Guys? I'm multitasking at the deli and being a DJ at the same time, because they're like,
girl, it's bumping over there. I love it.
You want to be manager of this deli? And I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I want to keep doing this simulation. But I've been keeping, so what helps me is like, I don't know, dude, I've been just like you guys, like went through this state of like losing like almost everything, like just love, just like burnout, and like chasing the greed, just gives you just this, it's like just not the way. So then like I was humbled immensely, where I was just like, you know what, I'm getting an in real life job. I need to be around people in this small town where nobody knows who the fuck I am. And I'm going to tell them about crypto as they come into this deli. So people come in, I just, I pump them up about coins. They have no idea what I'm talking about half the time. And recently I chased the dragon. I took a risk. So I'm going to Paris. And then all of a sudden the ball is rolling, the eyeball piece is rolling. I found a person in Miami who could help me zoom into the eyeball and out of the eyeball. And now I'm just following the flow of abundance and choosing like where my heart sparkles more, because I think I've punished myself enough. Like I've been in this deli, like my boss, dude, I started having a boss, dude. I'm like, hey boss, and it feels good, because then, I needed that step back to realize what I had here, because I think like sometimes you take it for granted how fast everything comes and how fast we sell the art sometimes, or it's like my friend Tyler Shields said, sometimes it took him a year to sell a piece, and I got into this need of like constantly like sell pieces, keep going. But the passion of it all felt kind of like it wasn't passionate. So this way of like deprive yourself from your art, humble yourself a little bit, step away to come back and be like, wow, look at this, what I have. I have so much and so many people. And I've been feeling a lot. Like, I hope I can give you guys that good energy, because it does return. Just, be patient and persevere, and you guys got this. And hopefully I see you guys in Paris. I'm going to go back to being a deli cashier now.
Julia, send me that playlist, girl. Send me that playlist.
Bye, Julia.
Yeah, it's Riz. It's A-Boy Riz. You guys want to hear?
Yep.
Don't let the haters bog
Let's
you
go.
down.
Girl, I'm bumping in the background here. I love this.
Don't let the haters get you down. You got this. You guys have good hearts, good spirits. focus your blinders and give joy to the people who give joy. All right, peace. I'm gonna go be a deli.
Bye, Julia.
And then
Thank
after
you.
I'm working
Yeah,
on my album, so you guys, I'm making art. That's in the deli. I'm gonna break out of this prison of the deli that I put myself in. I will escape soon. Okay, much love. Bye.
Yo, if we were working together at the deli, Julia, we'd be having way too much fun, let me tell you.
Dude, I know it. That's what it comes down with. If you can work with someone at a deli, like if you can, like that's what I realized, dude. It's all about your soul and your spirit. Like in the end, it could just comes down to that. You can have nothing left but just like a good attitude, and life is just amazing.
That's literally one of the key tools. I definitely agree with you. It's just how you frame things. And you can see some of the most hypothetically successful, quote unquote, people surrounded by, quote unquote, all the riches and wonders in the world. And they're miserable. And it's just all mindset and energy. And here you have Julia.
I heard something. I have a guru. A guru came into my life, a wizard, and told me chase high frequencies, ignore, like just see it. You know, sometimes we reject people who are exactly the same frequencies because we get into this challenge state. No, embrace the people with the exact same frequencies as you, get past the whole ego thing, and then watch the magic happen.
I'm definitely a believer in that as well with the frequencies. And there's a bunch of books I recommend if anyone cares to read or learn more about that stuff. Feel free to DM me because, yeah, Julia, I know exactly what you're talking about. And honestly, you could just hear it through the phone. Like Julia has some strong energy and I'm smiling just listening to her talk. So that's the type of effect I think is a huge component of mental health and just like uplifting the mood. Like sometimes you just got to smile, you know? So Julia, thank you.
You got
Yeah.
this, guys. If I can do it, if I can come back from a deli, dude, we can do this. Like,
I've been saying it with my sister, like 2025 is the biggest comeback ever. I think a lot of us, I mean, you know, the ups and downs are part of the journey and you kind of need the corrections sometimes to teach you certain lessons, to build you up stronger so that when the real success and the big abundance is coming, you're prepared for it. You know how to navigate and you're not going to stress the way that you used to. So, Julia, it's all part of the journey and part of the plan. Don't stress it, girl. I'm really happy to hear your energy, your voice. Thank you for joining us on stage. Seriously, send me that playlist. And
yeah, if I will right now.
awesome.
It's got some Italian energy, like right now. I don't know what's happening. But, dude, much love. We got to team up. Like, use me. You get me out of this deli. They pay me $12 an hour. Like, what am I doing, dude? But you know what? Rent is cheap. It's $9.90. So technically, I'm making 300 extra bucks, putting them in some moon bags, and bam. Like, now I'm sweeping the floor, guys. Oh, you guys like this? I'm sweeping the deli floor. Ooh, maybe you guys need this in your life. Like, I'm yelled at and sweeping the deli floor. Okay, bye.
Thanks for the energy, Julia. Okay, let's make our way around the room. I still see some hands up. I want to make sure we get to everybody. Let's go to the Food Master next. How are you?
Hello. I'm in that energy that Julia speaks about. It's of course with hiccups and ups and downs because like this was always. I am in this space since 4 years, but I never think to leave, and I saw so many things, so many amazing things when I was at the top of the wave, and so many of the most darkest and ugliest things can exist in the space. So what I can say, my experience, it's almost 100% with what Rachel said before. Try to set boundaries. It's the thing. I cannot do it because I'm an open heart. I'm so good with everyone. I know you, and after 10 minutes, you know all my life, you know all my secrets, and I'm so open. And so, so many people take advantage of this, and at a certain point hurts you, or and I am like crazy. I am so much loving the people in this space that even if they hurt me, I continue to love them and to try to build a relationship. It's crazy. I love. I don't think I will be able to leave this space with all the things that are happening here. And yes, I'm also not sleeping since 3 days. I don't know if I had 1 hour of sleep. My head is falling on the meanwhile I'm on the desktop. My head is falling down on the keyboard and my hand is shaking, and I know this is not good because it can happen what happened to you. Vasia, I'm so sorry to hear that. And my husband is telling me since 2 months, because there are 2 months since when I'm doing this thing. He told me, be careful to the toxins, to the things you do, because you can get sick. But I always have an answer. I have an answer that let me do. If I'm happy with what I'm doing, let me do till at a certain point when I will realize, and I will stop, and I will
Don't
sleep.
realize when it's too late, Food Master. Be careful. I'm telling you. Don't let it be your body shutting down. No, I agree with your
No,
husband on this one.
I respect my I respect my meditations. I do a lot of meditation during the day. I'm doing a lot of also essences and these things, massages, and I am able to find my equilibrium. The only bad thing I'm doing is the sleep. I know the sleep is essential, and but otherwise you cannot you cannot create, because here it's not about the money. It's about to create, and the creation process is so long, and requires so much so much time. So in last time I was not only creating, but I was also finishing my collection, because I had a collection which has to be launched 1 year before, and it was for various problems. And now I had to finish today, finally delivered to the devs. So I think from this evening I will finally be able to sleep well.
I hope so, because Food Master sleep is actually the non-negotiable out of all the things. Forget meditation and the rest. It's sleep. Your body needs to like heal itself, and I really hope you're able to get a full night rest tonight. Thank you for just taking the time to join us, regardless of your,
It's
all of the
always
things
a
that you
pleasure,
have.
and my name is
Thank
Corina.
you,
I think
Corina.
we know
Great.
each other from 2021. We also had some conversations on Discord. If I'm not wrong, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So
We'll
maybe
talk later in the DMs and remind
yeah.
me because because I would want to touch base and catch up on what maybe I'm forgetting. But thank you for sharing and stick around maybe to the second half of the space where we're talking about some of the important tools. It sounds like besides sleep, we want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. I do want to share the mic. I see a
Thank
few more
you.
hands up. Papa Bearded, thank you for patiently waiting. Go ahead. I just want to give you the mic. GM.
Oh, GM, what a space. Wow. I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to follow Julia, quite frankly. So kudos to Karina. I mean, I just want to say, like, Rachel kicked us off so great with talking about finding your people, finding your community. I mean, I also have to say to Rachel, I finally minted my first NFT on Build Tree that I collected. So kudos there, and amazing to the work you're doing. And so many people have been lifted up by what you're doing. So kudos, flowers to our hosts, Vasia and Milton. Like, this is what, 3 weeks in a row. I can't get away. Like, I look forward to this every week, and it's such a bright spot in the middle of it. I got a little distracted in one of the last speakers because I was experiencing my joy. We're just outside of Boston. We got like 3 to 4 inches of fresh snow last night. And I just had a bright orange male Baltimore Oriole show up outside my window, and 4 eastern bluebirds, along with it. And this splash of color is me finding my joy. I'm a hopeless bird addict, and my art on Chainall reflects that. But it's just an invitation to find your joy, bring it to this space, because people will resonate with that. People will absolutely resonate with that. And kind of counter to manic, part of my joy was basically trying every chain that came along, and I'm a serial experimenter. So if getting super focused and staying where you've always been isn't your jam, I want to give an invitation to let yourself experiment. There's plenty of wonderful opportunities to do that. You're not going to completely crush your Web3 dreams because you don't follow the same playbook as someone else. And we all know how fast things move here. My personal story, little bit, was that I took like a 6-month hiatus, been in the space 4 years, and I was so nervous about it. It took a couple months leading up to and following the birth of our second kid. And I came back and no one cared. It was as if I didn't leave. So if you too are worried about, geez, I really need a break. I can't do it. I can't keep up. I'm not even sleeping, Karina. Let's go ahead and give ourselves that opportunity to take a break because we need it.
I think Julia's back.
Oops.
Let's go.
I was putting the pickles in the pickle box, guys, and I'm listening to, here, you want to see my jams? Let's go. Ready? Got the job. Let's to the moon. I've been drinking a lot of Celsiuses. I didn't realize they're so expensive, so I try to drink more because they don't pay me enough here, and then bread and stuff, Woo! I hope Ethereum hits 5555. That'd be cool. All right, I'm sorry, bye.
Julia's like that glitter we sprinkle throughout the space just to not uplift the mood.
Right? If I could have her do outro music for me every time, that'd be great.
Please take me away from here. Actually, I don't know. I kind of like the stability, but I'll do this too. I'll be a DJ here.
You're going to go to Paris, book a DJ gig, and then that's it. You're just going to be touring Europe.
I'm going to the Wizard of Soho Eiffel Tower party. I've never been to the Eiffel Tower before. Ironically, it's a pizza party, and also, I'll tell you some tea. Let me step out of the place. So the boss in toast.
Julia, I'm coming to Paris too. Let's
go.
I'm at most of all at Artverse Gallery. At almost the most of events are there. But I'm also at Pizza Dao. I am with Fidel at brunch on 13.
Woo!
Yes, let's meet.
Yes, let's meet. I need I'm past the trauma, slowly realizing and someone's like, wake up, bitch. I'm like, okay, dude.
I will contact you in the end.
Yeah, my boss at Toast is having like a pizza meeting, and then ironically the Eiffel Tower is having a pizza thing, so I'm gonna make a video of a pizza montage, pizza in the deli and then pizza to the Eiffel Tower, there's never a middle ground. I'm kind of like, there's never a middle ground.
That's so Web3. That is so Web3 for
yeah,
you.
There's no
One day you're having pizza in a deli.
Super struggling, or you're like, oh shit, now I'm back on top of a mountain. Great.
Well, this goes literally back to the instability Milton started us off with. Why we need the conversation around mental health in Web3. It's because it's high lows, nothing in between. Hang on tight. Eric, I do see your hand up. Thank you for patiently waiting. Go ahead. I'll let you jump in.
Okay. No, let me think where I was. Oh yeah, it was what Karina was mentioning about kind of no, it's just interesting what you're saying, Karina. You're kind to people even if they're basically trying to destroy you. How do I say this? I don't do that anymore. I refuse to do that shit anymore.
Same. Good for you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it took me my entire life, but it's just enough things happened where I was like, wow, I mean, no disrespect, but some people cannot pull it together no matter what. And I just finally kind of, I guess it's called growing up, right? Finally kind of went, oh, some people really don't give a shit about whether or not you're good. And so how do I say this? It was I was going through some really hard stuff, and there was someone that needed to kind of either be sort of forgiven and worked with and chasing after and trying, or just enough is enough moment. And I looked at my dad and I said, oh my God, I think I just understand this for the first time in my life. I was like, no matter how much you love someone, no matter how good your intentions are, no matter what you try to do for them, you cannot save them from themselves. And often we'll try to save people from themselves at how do you say it? By means of, or by way of destroying ourselves and really hurting ourselves. And I'm just saying don't do it. Don't do it anymore. And there's this really random kind of tale I have from a million years ago. I was living in New York City, and I was I've always loved film, and I wanted to be a filmmaker, but it was that funny perception of filmmakers are over there, and they're all over there, and they're all amazing, and I'm over here. So, I never thought I could be one of them. I was like, oh, duh, right? But I didn't have enough money and all this stuff, and I was let me be totally cheesy and go to a light, or what do they call it? A career coach type person, like a life coach, but more like for business and stuff. And they were like, okay, so what are you trying to figure out and what are you doing? And I was like, I was kind of a freelance, like creative director, designer and stuff like that. And so I said, well, I got this job offer. I do not want to take it at all. It was at J. Crew, like a really, to me, like a little bit cheesy, a little bit nerdy. Like I was like, I don't want to do that. But they're like, well, just tell me more about it. And I was like, well, the thing is they gave me an offer, and like, I mean, I would need them to pay me like 25,000 more a year to make it like worth it, because then I could actually do something with a bunch of that money, whatever. And they said, and they go, wait a minute. And they said, okay, so why can't you just ask for that? And I was like, no. Like, I know they can only have so much in their budget, and and all my stupid excuses. And this person stopped me in my tracks. I'll never forget this moment. But they said, okay, so let me get this straight. You're looking after J. Crew, and J. Crew is looking after J. Crew. And who's looking after you? And I just like got full body chills and was like, oh my God. And like 2 days later went in there and I said like, yeah, I just want 25,000 more per year. And like, okay, no problem. I mean, I was able to pay off all my student loans and pay for film school, like begin to pay, so I just always want to tell people that, because it's all about like just communicating and asking. And it's so obvious and stupid, but like, just really, like, there's been so many times I worked in Hollywood as a producer and what do you call it? Camera crew. And, I was terrified. I'm like this Costa Rican American, like, I don't know, this woman, and there's all these heavy hitter, like big Hollywood producers. And my first meeting, I was literally like shaking a little bit. Like my voice was a little shaking and everything. And I just was like, nope, you have to do this. You have to speak, even if your voice shakes. And it's like little by little by little, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I do belong here. Like you have to practice and then get it. But I'm going on and on. But yeah, I just think ask for what you need. And if someone's completely awful to you over and over and over, you don't need to do that. Life is too short. Don't do that.
No, I'm so with you. And that was also, Erica, like a lesson that I also learned the hard way the last couple of years, but being able to really speak up, and especially in a business environment. And I don't want to say I don't like to play the female card, but it's true. Like I am a huge believer that like women operate from like feminine energy, and we do thrive in different environments, and men like the masculine energy also, it's a little differently. And for myself as well, like the things that you just mentioned really resonated, because as females, like you, I think, make more excuses, or you don't have the harder boundaries that might come a little bit more naturally to guys. And especially, it was interesting because I was reading a book recently about basically salary discrepancies in the US and men getting paid more for some of the same positions. And exactly what you just mentioned about negotiating, it's like the chances of a guy negotiating their salary are much higher than a woman. Even like it didn't even cross your mind, and it wouldn't have for me either. And so it's certain skills, I think, that and conversations that need to be had for females in business, especially, and kind of navigating these kinds of waters. But yeah, I really love what you mentioned. And another thing that you mentioned that stuck out was really the importance of like watering your own garden in order to inspire others. Like you're not going to be able to force someone to do something that they don't want to do, and you're wasting all your energy pouring it into their cup, and it leaves you with nothing. And I think that's also something that the lesson of how I learned boundaries, essentially, it was like kind of forced to, because you're sitting there with an empty cup and you're like, you know what, I really just can't do this anymore, and forcing myself to pivot. So thank you, Erica. All of that really resonated. I know there's also a couple of other speakers on stage. I don't see any hands, but if anyone wanted to jump in, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I want to say about feminine energy and how we got to keep it to ourselves sometimes, because sometimes you just give, like, I totally related to what Erica said about giving yourself too much to people who can't be saved, or they won't listen, because you feel like, you're as like, if in your feminine energy, you really want to like inspire, uplift, but then you feel your own drain, and it really does punish your like spirit. So you have to be like, you have to keep it yourself. And the thing is, whenever you do that, everyone wants it. Whenever you start keeping it to yourself, everyone wants the thing. And that's the hardest part, is just being like, no, and pushing past and keeping it to yourself, because they will try. And then when you keep it bottled up, it's just a burst of energy. And it's so hard to ignore everything else, though, because people call you all kinds of things when you're in that path. They're like, oh, you're not giving me attention, blah, 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 blah. You're pulling away. But you realize, dude, I've been given so much already. Like, you're just being, what is it? Like, you're taking it for granted, the energy. So keep the power to yourself. Bye.
Let's go, Julia.
Let's
Julia.
go, guys.
And when in doubt, no, listen, when in doubt, dance some mambo.
Yeah, when in doubt, bomb.
Check this shit out. You have to go dance mambo, everyone, one time, because it saves your life. That's all I got.
Milton, I think you've been dethroned as the DJ, dude. I'm sorry. The ladies are taking over. Oh my goodness. No, I love it. I love it. Julia, you're very right. And it's almost like that whole, we've been told like it's selfish to do things like that, to protect your energy, to like not share your time and resources. And it's like, you're right. Some people don't deserve it. And also it's just really taking away from you becoming the best version of yourself and really investing in yourself. And so I think it's unlearning certain things that we've been programmed to learn, like it's being selfish. It's like, no, it's okay to be selfish. You do you, and make sure you're also taking care of yourself in the process. Karina, I see your hands up. Go ahead.
Yes, this I wanted to say that we should take some snapshots, find a way to register our timelines, because it's exactly what Julia was saying. Because people is like that, when you send the good vibes and you start to give them, your heart and your soul, they are all together there. And when you stop, when you are not for them anymore, they also stop. And it's also about the conversation, like Erika says, the conversation, the speaking with someone and clear things and explain things. This is the great thing. I think this is the key for any conflict, because I don't think we have conflicts because any one of each of us is thinking in in its way, in its own way. So we suppose that others think in some way about us, but maybe we don't think that we get wrong, because we don't have to judge others or think how they could think. I think the most of the conflicts are starting from because of these things. And I think the conversation and the fact that we have to explain and to speak, it's the key. I think it's the best.
Yeah, it's crazy how many arguments, like adult arguments, can be avoided if people just communicated. And I think that's a skill that we need to really emphasize more in school and in, raising kids, and really being able to communicate your emotions in an emotionally intelligent kind of way. And more importantly, like you just mentioned, Karina, it's not making assumptions. Don't assume people are reading your mind. And even if it sounds super basic or you're being extremely straightforward about it, I think it's a positive thing to be transparent in a very kind of
Exactly. And don't ever have expectations. This I'm learning in this space, because when I entered in 2021, I was completely different. I make assumptions. I had expectations, a lot of expectations from the people. No, you don't have to have anything. You are here just to have fun. You are here just for your heart. If you like, stay. If you don't like, don't stay. But don't have expectations from the people, and don't judge the people, because I discovered wonderful persons, persons about whom I thought that they are awful. Instead, they are amazing, just because, my brain, it was like that. So, yeah, it's a beauty. We have to learn how to navigate this space, and if we learn how to navigate, it's a beauty.
Yeah, I completely agree. And honestly, when you release those expectations, I feel like that's when you find peace. And at the end of the day, I don't know about everyone else, but I'm not chasing the bag. I'm chasing some peace, some freedom. That to me is priceless. This conversation, this part is really reminding me of a book. So I'm just going to throw it out there in case people like to read. But the book is called The Four Agreements, and it's based off of it's by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's like a ancient Toltec wisdom, basically. But the four agreements go like, be impeccable with your words, Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And those are kind of like the 4 principles to live by. I highly recommend it. It's a very quick, easy read, but something very much applicable to today's world. And so, yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there in case anyone resonated with it. I do want to also go to our new guest on stage. I don't want to butcher the name, so I'm going to just invite you on stage. Luana? GM?
Hello.
Hey,
Yeah, hello.
how do you
Hi.
say your name? I'm sorry.
You can call me Luz.
Luz. Okay, welcome to
Yeah, because
the
that's like
stage.
just the initial of my whole name. So, but you can say Luanox, but you can call me Luz or Lou or Sweetie or Princess or Goddess or whatever you want. It's fine.
Goddess. I'm going to go with Goddess. All right, Goddess Luz. Anyway. Thank you for joining the stage.
This is a very interesting conversation. And last week, I got the Daily Stoic book, and it goes to 366 meditation of wisdom. And so today is the 29th. So I said, well, why not share what this book had to say? Maybe we can learn something. So at every moment, keep a steady mind on the task at hand. As Roman and human being, doing it with strict and simple dignity, affection, freedom, and justice, giving yourself a break from all other considerations. You can do this if you approach each task as if it is your last, giving up every distraction, emotional subversion of reason, and all drama, vanity, and complaining over your fair share. You can see how mastery over a few things makes it possible to live an abundant and devout life. For if you keep watch over these things, the gods won't ask for more. The gods won't ask for more. Marcus Aurelius. So, I've been studying Stoicism for quite some time, and it's a very difficult practice. I combine it personally with some meditation. I've been doing Vipassana meditation for about 20 years. Yes, 20 years. It's one of the most difficult types of meditations. I don't know if anybody knows about Vipassana, but it's a silent meditation. And what you do during, let's say, 24 hours is absolutely nothing but meditate. So you meditate, you eat, you rest, you meditate, you walk, but that's it. Like, you don't check your social media, you don't have even eye contact with anyone. And I mean, it's a difficult thing because we always are in our minds, right? Like, we're trying to figure it out things, and oh, this people is saying this, or this person is doing that, and so on and so on. And we just start having like these motion pictures in our brain, we just have this hysteria internally. And then we don't, like, because we want to get distracted, because sometimes looking at with what's happening within our minds sometimes is not something you want to see. And some people don't feel comfortable being alone too much, and if they are too long alone, they need to be distracted with video games or doing something constantly, because being still is one of the hardest things to do. And when I got into this world of the Web3, which I don't think it's been 9 months. I'm very new. It is hysterical. It's like it's neurotic. It's just and this Bitcoin and this thing and this and bing bing. So I feel like in my brain, even though I'm not inside, I feel like I'm in a casino. With all sorts of different sounds. Like. And people is just talking about all sorts of shit, and I'm like, hold on a second, what happened? Like, I have to read this and I have to read that. No. I have to take a breath and take just to chill the fuck out, because otherwise I'm just gonna flip. You're gonna flip. So practicing meditation is absolutely necessary for this for everything. But since I started the Web3, it's like, okay, now I need to really grab on those tools, because you can get distracted very easy. Because one thing is to be an artist, before the Web3 is like you're the artist and you take the photo and you paint and you do the design and you struggle somehow, trying to find platforms for people to see your work, because you're doing your work because you want people to see it, and eventually you want to sell it, and eventually you want to make some sort of input in the history, in the art and what you have discovered, and I don't know, something that you want to leave behind, and the Web3 and all this is like, oh, now I have governance of what I can show to people, and I actually can make money and retribution to it. Like, I don't need to go in a white cube and do all sorts of crazy stuff in order for me to be seen. I can do it like directly from my desk. But there's so much going on, and so much information that you want to take it all. But at some point it's just like, okay, no, I can't. It's impossible. And either I get into all these different platforms and check out all different coins and all different, strategies, or I just focus on my craft. So for me, it's like trying to look of that balance. Like, of course, if we're in the Web3, it's because we want to make money. You're not going to hear just because you love the pure art. And I think that's a little bit of a BS. Well, at least for me, I don't know. I'm just talking on my own. Like, I'm not going to be here just trying to learn all different technologies and vocabulary and getting to involve in this community just because, I don't know, just for fun. Like, this for me is actually work. In my craft, and also in my presence in the media, and how I'm going to show myself, and like what character I want to hold for people to get to know me. Obviously being as originally as possible, but always we're going to use a certain persona. So just going back to the beginning with what the book was saying, is like, say you live your life with dignity, affection, and freedom and justice, and also without getting distraction with emotional or drama or vanity. Is kind of a, you have to put yourself every day, look at yourself in the mirror and and ground yourself, like, what do I want to accomplish today? Not in like 10, 15 years. Because like sometimes we can get caught into these visions, but like today, okay, today I have to wake up, take a shower, get my coffee, dress, go out with my dog, read a book, sit in front of the computer for an hour or 2 hours for my craft, get into social media, organize my day. People are today I'm going to be very lucky and lots of people are going to mint my work. Yeah. And tomorrow nobody, and I'm going to feel sad. I was like, oh, don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. Today is good. Tomorrow is not. And it's like today is sunny and tomorrow is rainy. And if we look at like this, I think you can thrive better in these platforms without getting too caught up of what's happening. Because at the end of the day, you don't really have the person or the people in front of you, right? Like you can smell them, you can see their eyes, you cannot see if they're fat, short, or whatever, you don't know that. And it's just a little time, a little moment, breathing on a screen that you are going to base your whole identity to what people are saying in that. You don't want to do that. It's just like,
right.
Yeah, you creating a persona or reputation, but you don't want to, let those little things have an effect in yourself, like in your self-esteem, So
for sure.
Anyway,
and I think
it's a little bit too long.
No. Actually, I love a lot of the things that you've been saying. First of all, I believe that was Ryan Holiday, the book, right? I dropped it on the thread for those that maybe want to reference, but the Stoic book was Ryan Holiday, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. Okay, so I put it on the thread in case people are interested. Manic actually already beat me with the other book that I had mentioned. If anyone has additional book recommendations, podcast, anything, I love getting into those. So please, guys, I encourage, drop it in the comments so I can go through them. But you mentioned, Luz, you mentioned a lot of important things. And the one that specifically resonated was like being alone and being okay to sit by yourself, which forget Web3 for a second, just in society, we don't do that. People are constantly hustling and running around. And I think the biggest reason why most people, like some people, I should say, have that midlife crisis kind of happen is because they've never had the opportunity to sit with themselves and really figure out what they want their life to look like. And then they, wake up one day and, they're middle-aged and they're not where they want to be and they're not where they thought they would be. And it's a lot more difficult to kind of navigate that later in life. And so I really definitely encourage people to sit with themselves and really reflect. And on a more of a personal note, Web3 forced me to do so when I was traveling alone and I had to sit down and like have dinner at a restaurant for the first time by myself as an adult. And, at first it was awkward. And then now I love it. Now it's like, I can't wait to be by myself and really enjoy that time alone. And I feel like that's what recharges me and allows me to show up as my, best self in things like this, in larger kind of social groups and conversations. And I'm a very social person, but again, I think that time alone is very important and reflecting. And I was going to talk about journaling a little later, but it's one of the biggest tools that has definitely helped me as well, really reflect and discover more about who you are. And I think the biggest investment in our entire lifetime is ourselves. You are not going to spend more time with anybody else besides yourself. And we don't take the time to really give back and really nurture ourselves and really in that self-improvement and that self-growth. And it sounds like we have a lot of like-minded individuals in today's space, which gets me very excited because, a lot of the conversations have brought up books or, a lot of good practices. And so I'm really enjoying this conversation. I did see F. Dot's hand shoot up and I've been waiting for him to shoot his hand up. So I'm going to hand him the mic. Eric, how are you? Thank you so much for joining.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for having me up on the stage. It's been an awesome conversation so far. It's a little bit windy up here. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Okay, cool. Yeah, there was so many good things mentioned already that I'm going to need to re-listen to this space again soon. I learned a lot, so thank you. Thank you all. Particularly loved things that Erica said, Julia, Papa Bear, and just wanted to underscore a couple things and like expand. So you mentioned that Ryan Holiday book, and there's a quote from it that I remember when I think about Stoicism, and it's that a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. And we already talked about this, how the need to keep up with everything, or to feel like you need to keep up with everything, is what often prevents us from slowing down and being present with ourselves and doing the things that we need to do. It's been a big struggle for me over the years. I've struggled with perfectionism, always wanting my next thing to be better than my last. Struggled with consistency in almost like every area, focusing too much on consuming over creating others' needs before my own, like going to bed, scrolling, and then waking up and doing it again. So these unhealthy patterns. Also struggled with just like basic functions. I'm ADHD as well. So I was telling myself this story that my ADHD is blocking me from doing these things or from getting better routines in my life. And it all kind of came to a head at the end of last year because I realized it was all in my power and no one else was going to do this work for me. And this year I'm feeling a little bit more optimism about where I'm at and where things are going. Partially it's because I've started working with a coach on some of these things. But for anybody out there who feels like things are just stuck on repeat and it's the same bullshit every day, I guess I just want to share some things I realized in working with my coach. One of them is he taught me the difference between problems and challenges. The difference between those two is that a problem is something that you can't really control or change, and a challenge is something that you can see how you can overcome it. So a lot of times he said that people would go to him and share all their problems, but those are exactly not the thing that you should be focusing on. The problems are often unsolvable, or they just need to be cut out of your life, like the people who are causing the problems. If there's a challenge, it's something you can work on, then you got to see it like that and show up to it excited to tackle it. I also learned that breath is how we harness our energy. And so breathing, just setting an alarm to check how you're breathing every few hours, changes a lot. It just reminds you to slow down and take a big deep breath, and then you can resume. But without stopping, it's just easy to keep going on these unhealthy patterns. Anything that you're doing because you feel like you need to, or you feel like everyone's doing it, and that's the reason that you want to do it, it's usually not going to lead to the success that you're seeking, whether it's in your art, your career, your habits. It's just doing the things that work for you, and competing with yourself only is a much more healthier way to look at it, at least for me. And the last thing is this quote that I just heard today, actually, on a podcast. I love listening to mental health related podcasts. So if anyone wants some recommendations, they can DM me. My inbox is open. But this last quote I want to leave you with is, how are we complicit in creating the conditions that we don't want? Because we know that we don't want to be over consuming and not creating. We know that we want to be sleeping a certain number of hours a day. We know that we want these things, but we're still complicit in creating conditions that lead to the bad habits and patterns. So just something to sit with. I hope that you guys got something out of it, and thank you for hosting, Vasia.
My pleasure, and thank you so much. Those were honestly a lot of gems. I'm going to have to re-listen to your... Thank God Milton takes show notes, honestly. I'm watching him type away majority of the things he just said and jotting those down, but I specifically love the fact that you mentioned, like, it's all in my power. Absolutely. And even that end quote you just mentioned right there, it's like the victimhood mentality. I just honestly, personally, doesn't resonate with me. I've never been that type of person, but I think it's really what stands in a lot of people's way. And I really love that you just highlighted that. I actually think this might be a good time to transition more into kind of the list of tools and resources that I came up with. I obviously want to encourage people to continue adding to it. Milton, I see that you're down below as a listener, so I'm going to re-invite you up to the stage, while Erica, you want to maybe close us off with a comment and we'll transition to some tools.
Sure.
Go ahead, Erica.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I was inspired by. No, I couldn't agree more, F. Like, as silly as it sounds, I would think I would have more control over my emotions, but I apparently don't. So I don't scroll first or last thing ever anymore. There's something weird that it does to your brain, and there's something, I don't know maybe someone else can describe why it works psychologically, but like, it's sort of, I finally noticed it's about like how you start your day. So I have like an extremely like weird specific series of things I do. And so I'll just share them really quickly in case it helps anyone. Like, let me think. Well, first I get my kiddo off to school and just have fun. And he's so much fun that it's just all joy. So that's wonderful with my husband and my son, just like all love. And then my husband usually goes and drops him off at school. And then I have that little space for myself. So it's really weird, but I lock my office. I'm like, this is, a room of one's own, right? This classic feminist book. It sort of reminds me of that, like lock this room and be like, this is my time now to drop in really deeply. So then I go into like yoga and meditation, just like nothing too serious, just like trying to feel like good in my body or whatever. Sometimes I'll like take the bath first, sometimes take after, whatever. But the latest thing is like, is actually singing. And it happened when I was taking care of my dad when he was bedbound. It kind of happened again by accident because, singing to him was something that just would make him the most relaxed and entertained or whatever. So, and it's really weird. My voice got a little bit better over the years. So all of a sudden I was like, oh, weird. People are like, oh, no, you can sing now. Like, oh, that's weird. So now I'm like a total weirdo karaoke person. So I literally everything from like super fast paced, crazy, like mambo and really fast music that's really hard to do, that helps you like get your breath moving, to just like dropping in and trying. How do I explain this? It's like I wait till the feeling happens. I'm singing for a while and then I'll wait until I'm like, oh, now I'm really dropping into that space where it's like, it's about my relationship with myself and the relationship with my voice and how that sort of, at one point having a spiritual awakening, I realized that sort of it's like the spirit moves on the breath. So it's just kind of an honoring of like, wow, I'm above ground. This is amazing. So I just try to get myself into a really grateful space. And then, like I said, like take the shower, eat. Oh, and I don't eat sweet stuff in the morning anymore. I really finally put it together. I was like, that doesn't work. So I do like a really pure chicken broth. I was vegan for a super long time, but for health reasons, I have to have some protein like that. And so there's one, I can't think of the name. Anyway, I'll put it in the bubble or whatever, but it's like the chicken broth. It's like the only one I could eat when I had COVID that was incredibly healing. And then I just wanted to say, totally agree with the 4 Agreements. That's a wonderful, wonderful book. And then you were talking about communication, Vasia, and it just made me think too, this is a really brief thing to share is, you're probably familiar with NVC or nonviolent communication. And that was like one of the single most helpful things in terms of like, just learning how to be a kinder person, really, like, and learning how to just like cooperate or whatever. I had some bad modeling in my childhood. So I was like, oh, actually I have some shit to work on. So anyway, the most simple thing you could take away from the whole research of nonviolent communication is when you're talking with someone and it's maybe like a tricky subject, you're like, this could get into a tricky territory. What you try to do is, if you can memorize this, when you say X, I feel Y and think Z. So that's like the structure of how you communicate. So it's like, which is totally cheesy and it sounds unnatural at first, but then it works over time. It's like, so what it is that instead of saying like, well, fuck you, because whenever you say this, like, or sorry, when, you're doing this to me, or you're always this, or instead of blaming, it's just a really nice format to be like, when you say this thing, I feel why, which is like you're owning your own emotions and your own response to it and being like, oh, interesting. And then you can kind of trigger yourself and they're like, well, those are my emotions. They didn't cause that. I did that. And I think Z. So it's like kind of back to what, I forgot her name, the food master. I forgot your actual name. Diosa? No, I forgot. Anyway.
Karina.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like sort of, you realize that those assumptions you're making, that person says that, you have this feeling, and now all of a sudden you're off to the off to the races with this thing is true. That's probably not true at all. And then the other thing is, what is it called? It's Caroline Myss's, I forgot what it's called, but it's Caroline Myss. And she does this thing that's like, how do you explain it? I'm losing it. Where basically, I just completely lost it because I'm kind of sick. That's my excuse.
No, okay.
but and then I just wanted to kind of just say that, to wrap up that I totally agree. I mean, yoga is so critical, and because like especially Kundalini yoga for me is really powerful. It's one of the older ones. It's one of the more like sort of quote spiritual ones, but it basically is incredible because it's incredibly old, and so it involves like chanting and singing and breathing and repetitive poses with these kind of like things that you do with holding your hands certain ways. But it's incredible because literally that was formulated thousands of years ago with people understanding like what these poses did to your organ systems. So it's really, really healing and really relaxing. So just couldn't sort of recommend it more. I mean, I've literally felt my chakras activating each one at a time, and it's a really special practice, and it really kind of stimulates the autonomic nervous system. So it kind of like promotes awareness and kind of helps you just like regulate your nervous system and chill out. So sorry, I'm on a rampage over here.
Not at all, Erica. We got to talk off the spaces, because girl, a lot of the things you're saying resonate. I know exactly, like there's a lot of the practices that I also implement. But I did also want to take a second and pivot a little bit more to, I was expecting people to obviously mention some of the quote unquote basic or obvious ones. Like, okay, guys, we're taking care of our mental health. We're taking care of our bodies. It's a healthier lifestyle. Like we should be working out, going to the gym, eating healthy, yoga, meditation, the not using your phone the first thing in the morning. But I also wanted to dig a little bit deeper, because I was also expecting that obviously everyone has different situations. Like maybe, not everyone can afford a fancy gym membership, or maybe some people have 3 kids at home and they're not waking up at 4 a.m. for a super elaborate morning routine. Like everyone's life looks a little different. So I wanted to be very mindful of this. And I tried to narrow it down to a list of things that are free, that are easy, and that I honestly think that we can all apply today. Like they're very easy to implement. And honestly, there are things that have really changed my life. So I'm going to start off with the first one. And Catalina, I do see your hand up, so I'll get to you in a second. But I wanted to start off with the first one, which is upgrade your environment. And what do I exactly mean by that? So Milton and I are going to role play very quickly just to give a little analogy. And I hope this resonates and people can kind of understand what I'm trying to say here. But I want to just pretend that I went through a really tough, let's pretend Vasia just got broken up with. She went through a really bad breakup. I'm devastated. I'm totally heartbroken. I thought this was the guy I was going to marry. Milton, being a good friend, calls me up, checks in on me. He's comforting me. He's like, you're going to be okay. We then touch base 6 months post the breakup. And he calls me up and I'm still devastated, as if it was the first day of the breakup. And so Milton's a little concerned now. And he comes to visit me, and he comes over to my apartment, and the first thing he hears as he walks in, it's like Taylor Swift and all the heartbreak songs playing. I've got the Notebook on the TV playing in the background. I still have my ex's things all over the place, like as if he still lives there, as if he hasn't moved out. So, Milton, as a good friend who cares a lot about me, what would probably be one of the first pieces of advice that you give me? Oh my God, I can't hear you. Can everyone else hear you on the
He
spaces?
said,
No.
keep going, you got this, listen to some house music instead. I don't know.
Did anyone else hear him? Like, you guys actually...
I couldn't either.
Oh, Milton, jump out and jump back in, dude. We rehearsed this. No. All right, let's give him... Okay, is anyone else on stage maybe want to give me some advice? What should your girl do? I'm still heartbroken 6 months in.
Would give you a hug and say, like, dude, it's a healing process because there's no time. You know, they say, like, you're supposed to get over someone with half the amount of time you've been with them. So you're going to still be healing for a while. But while you're healing, here's some chocolate. It'll help boost your endorphins. Let's put something funny on because the Notebook's going to make you sad. Let's put on Anchorman. And let's change the music. We'll slowly change the music. Let's, like, cry it out. Change the music. Jump in the shower. Put on some eucalyptus pods in that steam shower. And here, you know, just, like, relax your body because there's, like, 7 billion people in the world. And half of them are maybe male. I'm not sure. Maybe there's more women. I'm not sure exactly. But if you want a man, you want a man. But, you know, be yourself first because we got to refine yourself now. Like, let's put a list of things that make you happy in front of you, just small things, and then follow that list. So when you wake up every morning, you look at that list and be like, oh, snap, this makes me happy, you know?
Milton, do you have anything else to add? Because I think Julia... Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to say something, which where Julia was saying. That sounds fantastic, and it sounds amazing. And of course, we're not psychologists here, but I think that having that direction, it might not address the situation of why this person is still caught up in that person. Because I can get distracted of, going to a party, do drugs, going dance, eat chocolate, watch a movie, whatever, what's that. But the moments where you're not with that distraction, what's going to happen is that the nostalgia and the lack is going to rise again. So it's like, why do I miss this person? Why is this person so important for me that I'm unable to move on? You know,
Luz, I don't disagree. I'm so sorry. I don't disagree with you because you're right. You definitely have to feel the feelings and dig through all the emotions. I'm so sorry. Milton's mic didn't work out, guys. But the point of that specific analogy, just because I want to make sure that I don't, I guess, derail the purpose of that was like to upgrade the environment, meaning get rid of his stuff. Like Julia said, change the depressing music, clean up the place. Don't play the Notebook. Watch something happier. And so the only, I didn't mean to cut you off, Luz, but the only, I guess, point, because I agree with you, you have to dig through the emotions and really make sure there's nothing lingering. But in this situation, I really just wanted to focus on specifically the environment. And that goes with, I think, a physical environment, meaning your office, your studio, your apartment, your house. Like for me, at least, when it's clean, when it's an organized environment, you're relaxed more. It promotes productivity. Decorate it, make it pretty, make it a place that when you walk in, you feel happy. It's welcoming, whether you're adding some plants or some art on the walls. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but it just should be like a place where you feel good in. And I also just want to emphasize that your environment isn't just a physical environment. We consume things, and that's just as important. Consumption meaning what we listen to. So music, maybe you need the upbeat music, the relaxing music, something happy. Julia knows exactly what I'm talking about because she's bumping it at the deli.
Dude, you want to see what's next? It's about to be another drop.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to do
I'm smiling every time
tricking my mind.
Julia comes on.
Well, I'm not tricking my mind. I'm just feeling, dude. I've mourned enough. It's been like
vibes. We could not have timed this better.
Abundance energy.
Totally. And it matters. Julia, thank you. So she's proven my point. Music matters, podcasts as well, if you're listening to things, but consumption, movies, books, I definitely want to promote people taking a minute and thinking about what they consume and making sure that it's things that inspire you and think about it. What makes you happy? What makes you smile? I think those are the things that we need to kind of chase and try to consume more of. And honestly, do an audit of your social media a little bit. Like, who are the people that you follow online? What types of comments are they making? I've definitely unfollowed / muted people because I'm sorry, they just spread negative energy, negative vibes, low vibration. They're constantly complaining. It's not uplifting. And the last thing I want is to go on my timeline and see things that are like, ugh, like that's not what I want to see. It definitely impacts you. So I'm all about like affirmations and gratitude. I listen to a lot of affirmations, and these are, again, free resources, very easy to do every day. You're jumping in the car, going to the supermarket, go on YouTube, throw on like some affirmations and just, again, shift really to the positive. So that was kind of the purpose of the analogy with the environment with the boyfriend. I'm sorry, it didn't really land well. I feel like Milton's microphone had an issue there, but
There's
that
something
was,
else that helps me, like
yeah.
clothing. Like, for instance, recently my spirit was like, oh, this deli, everyone's so like negative, right? All the time. So my spirit told me, buy this reggae sweater. Buy it now. It's like $25, but like I was just drawn to it because it's like armor. It's like spiritual clothing armor. So if someone like, people will judge you, but it helps you like, sometimes these types of armor that you wear guard you from like just these bogged down energies. And like, yep, like sometimes people need help, but there's only so much like that some person can give, like Erica said. So sometimes I put on like spiritual armor, like reggae stuff or necklaces, or just like, eyeshadow that makes me happy. And I like look in the mirror and I'm like, damn, you sparkly today. And say something positive in the mirror. Like talk to yourself nicely today. Be like, oh my God, I'm amazing. I did this. And like, yeah, people are going to be like, why are you so full of yourself? But it's like, I'm trying to heal myself from like a trauma. And I need to talk to myself. Like, you need to love yourself first. Because if you can't love yourself, how the fuck are you going to love anyone else? Let's go.
Facts, Julia, though. Facts. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the hardest things, like, I'm Greek, we believe in the evil eye heavy. And one of the things that I find like the hardest is really protecting yourself from negative energy. And I definitely have a couple books to recommend to people that are not so sure what we're talking about when we talk about energy or high frequencies and all that. But if you're interested and you don't think we're weirdos, hit me up. I have a couple books that kind of break it down really well. But I'm with you, Julia. It's all about high vibes and really cultivating that environment where, yeah, it's just, making yourself happy. People are always going to talk. And if they don't understand you, they don't understand you. But you do you. I love it. Eric, I do see a hand up. And then I see Julia Taft also joined us. So we'll swing the mic around.
Beautiful. It's just one thing on that topic that's a little off the beaten path, that had I not lost everything from mold, I wouldn't know this, but it's just clean the hell out of your home. Like really clean it, and clean it with tea tree. Like you could add it into the soapy bucket or whatever, but tea tree, peppermint, my brain's going blank. Let me think. Eucalyptus, the obvious. But anyway, because those kill, they're antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial, whatever. But the fungal part is really, really interesting, and most people don't know about it, just like people didn't know about asbestos in the 70s or whatever. So essentially, like anything musty in your life probably is a mycotoxin. If you can smell it, those toxins are going into your brain. So there's sometimes people, so please throw away every musty book. Like take pictures of whatever is like, what do you call that word? I don't have it anymore. Nostalgia. I don't really have nostalgia anymore, but really though, seriously, because sometimes people be like, I don't get it. Like I'm doing well in every other way. Like I'm eating well, I'm doing the exercise I'm doing, but for some reason I'm just depressed when I'm in my home. And it could be that it literally promotes, what do you call it? Mold lives in dust. So the mold can promote like depression that you just can't control unless you clean the hell out of the house.
And the fact, Erica, that you mentioned products in general, like that are holistic and organic, like another thing that my family is pretty much a very big advocate for is the fact that a lot of the cleaning products or things that we eat, and especially in America, they're poison. Like there's things in there that shouldn't be, especially cleaning products where you have like little kids crawling on the floor and like all this, like they're in it. And it's all, again, just very bad for them. And again, I'm not going to like go on a tangent here, but I encourage people to kind of do a little bit more more research regarding that. And I think we're starting to see the like movement regarding the conversations really around these topics. But I think it's extremely important to just be mindful of the ingredients in cleaning products and detergents. Like all of these things are really bad, and hormone blockers and blah, blah, blah. Like I can go on forever, but thank you, Erica, for bringing that up. And Catalina, I'm going to go to you next, sweetheart, because I'm so sorry. You had a hand up and I skipped over you before, so go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. This is an incredible conversation, and I cannot thank you for bringing me on the stage because, hi, everyone. Welcome to the space, and it's been such a pleasure and honor to be here. And Vasia, you know I love talking, but I also am practicing a lot of listening because there's so many things that I resonate with everyone that shared their thoughts and experience on this stage. And I wanted to share a little bit about myself and why I had to change, because I'm also coming from that part of the world as you, Vasia, and from a small country in East Europe. And we grew up in this old-fashioned society that is teaching women to actually, quote unquote, know their place and always be dedicated to everyone except their own selves. And it took me 25, probably 30 years of my life to actually realize if I want to be dedicated to someone else, I need to be in my best shape. How am I supposed to help anyone if I'm in a terrible shape, both mentally and physically? And I was suffering this entire time. Like 30 years of my life, the 30 years is a huge ass time, especially growing up. And you see how all that trauma that you experienced as a kid is now affecting you when you're grown up. And I think that the thing that helped me a lot was, Rachel mentioned this at the very beginning of the space, the people. It was people who actually brought it to my attention. Hey, you need to stop doing this because you're ruining yourself. You need to first look up for yourself. You need to actually look in the mirror and start taking care of yourself if you want to even be useful to anyone. Not even if you're not useful to anyone, you should just be the best version of yourself. And one of the interesting things is that I started researching about the human brain. It was part of my PhD studies, but it's interesting how we deal with emotions. Human brain is an absolutely fabulous part of the body. And one of the reasons why we feel depressed is because we are bombarded with a lot of information, especially in this space. I'm in since 2018, and I've been through so many spirals and highs and lows. And it's absolutely true what everyone said earlier, that it's either the ultimate high or the ultimate low. There's no in between in this space. There's no equilibrium. And it's up to us to actually try and find it, because otherwise it's going to be impossible. No one is going to do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. But the interesting thing that I stumbled upon when I was doing the research about the human brain is that we most of the times we do actions based on emotions, not reason. Get the fuck out of reason. The reason is showing up after we do the action based on emotion, just so we can prove that we did something with a reason. But the interesting thing is that we are bombarded with between 30,000 and 90,000 thoughts per day. Like, that's on average. We have that many thoughts in our brains that are going through our brains for a day. Each thought can cause emotional response. And once you have an emotional response, your body starts to develop like, what is the things, your chemical reactions, and your body starts to actually feel and have a reaction. And so even imagine the whole eclectic environment that your body and your mind lives. And if you cannot deal with all of these emotions, you literally can get sick. So one of the things that I learn about myself is, I'm going to quote Invictus in this right this moment. I'm the captain of, I'm the captain of my ship, and I'm the master of my soul. So this is the things that we can control. There's a lot of things in this space that we cannot control, even in our whole life. But the things that we can control is within our mind. We can control our thoughts. We can control our emotions, but it needs practice. So it's cheap. It doesn't cost anything, but it does cost our will. So it's not monetary, but it does cost a lot of our will, and sometimes it's not easy to control your emotions and control your body responses. But here's the trick, the kicker. We all are facing challenges. F. Dot said it really, really, really well. We all are facing challenges. We all have problems, but it's how we deal with them that is important. Because many people, even I had this, I used to be had that victim mentality as well. That was so toxic mindset that I had to learn to get away from. And I still have family members that are thinking that way. And it pains me because I used to give up everything that I have in order to help them. But Erica said it I think Erica was the one who said it very, very correctly. You cannot help someone who doesn't want you to help them. You're actually harming them because they're gonna react as if you're going against them. Like, because I was trying to help a family member and I was putting everything and they were just getting more and more aggressive towards me because they didn't want me to help them. And here's the thing, the change must come from within. If you try to push it from outside, you're going to break them and you're going to harm yourself while doing so, and they're going to blame you for that. You have to inspire them. There is always a method, there's different level or a way how to inspire them and teach them to start changing, but it has to start from within, and you cannot walk their path. You have to let them walk by themselves, and it's not easy. There's a lot of things that I've been through in this space, and probably one of the things that I resonate the most is meditating, breathing. I do have a lot of back issues, Vasia. This space caused me to finally get diagnosed with disc herniation. So this is, from sitting too long, you get a lot of back pain, and then this causes the spine to kind of change, and then the vertebrae, and it's horrible. And then your nerves start to get pinched, and when that happens, the pain is unbearable. I got such pain that I couldn't walk, I couldn't take a shower, I couldn't bend down to like tie my shoes. It was crazy, and that really caused me to think, well, if I don't take care of myself, no one is gonna make this for me. I need to grab this in my hands, and I need to change it. So this is one of the things. I can recommend you a book, but it's a little difficult to read, and it's called A Man in Search for a Reason. It's by Viktor Frankl, the founder of the logotherapy. For anyone who's interested.
Please, Catalina, if you could drop that in the comments, because
I
I'm gonna
will
definitely look it up after.
Very heavy. It's a very heavy
book.
Yes,
I was gonna recommend a book too. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Okay, two nerds nerding out. I love it. No, but the body keeps score. I'm not remembering the author right now, but basically saying about like storing trauma in our body and emotions, how we are very heavily tied to, again, storing it in our body, this unreleased emotion and trauma, and how it can manifest and turn into more serious illnesses and diseases. And it's something that, I think it's very important to we don't talk about in society. And what I don't love about the traditional, or I guess modern day approach to medicine is like the Band-Aid. You're putting you have a headache, pop an Advil. It's like, why do I have headaches every day? Like there's probably something else going on in the background. And so just in general, I'm loving these types of conversations. And Catalina, thank you for sharing. I'm so sorry to hear about your back. I definitely do not think you're the only person experiencing that. I don't know how some of these are, like, I don't know how you guys do it in front of the computer all day, every day. But it's definitely important, because at the end of the day, nothing is worth compromising our health for if we don't have health. Like, health is wealth. So I hope you feel better. I hope you're putting in certain practices in place to prevent it from getting worse. I did want to Julia Taft. I think we're also, I don't think I've met you before either, but I do see a hand up. I would love for you to join the stage and share a little bit of your thoughts as well.
Yeah, hi. Oh, what a night. Like, I'm so glad I found this space. This is really nice. I know I'm familiar with a few of the artists working here, and that's really cool. And Plotsky's here. Hi, Plotsky. Um, yeah, I have back problems too, Catalina. I, you know what I got? I had a spinal fusion. Actually, Plasky was really nice to me during that time, but thank you, Plasky, for that. It was, it took a long time, but yeah, my stretches are really important. And then I got this thing, it's called the chirp wheel, and it was like the best investment of my life. And I just do 10 minutes on that every day, and then hot Epsom salt baths. Like, I don't know where, that's all about, but that helped me completely. It took a few years, and it's still I'm working towards that, but yeah, that's something really important to me. Um, but then on a more technical side, I was thinking, like, as the whole crypto community is kind of going through these swings, I started noticing some tools that I think are really important, and like how I'm seeing, because I was trying to like offer some newer people like how I might see crypto. Um, so what I see is I don't necessarily see the dollar amount anymore, because I'm fully pilled, like orange. I'm more fully orange pilled. But what I see is Sats and Satoshis, smallest dividend of Bitcoin, um, or Ethereum, same thing. And so what I noticed was that with the floors and everything, and if anybody here got hurt during the all the different stuff going on in the market, running nodes is really, really helpful, because you can see the price difference. So if I think ETH too, it's ETH.org. You can run up a node there, and you can sort of see it's cheaper. It's way cheaper too. But there's things right now that I see on the board that are really interesting. Like, I see that even if if mempool is really low, and let's say it's like at the lowest at 1 sat per Byeee, then the mint of some things, like if you were to if you're purchasing, let's say, certain things, the mint price to do that at even the lowest sat rate on a node, um, it is more expensive. So even though this is sort of bare, like if there's art or other things that are interesting um, to buy, they're priced lower at the moment. And so, like, for me to do to find the math on that, I see like a lot of opportunities. And then there was other things that I see too that are incredible tools, because I think financial tools are really important. Like learning charts is really important. Um, Understanding how other people in the community see crypto is really important. Like, I don't necessarily see dollar. I see
I
sat.
like that. I like that,
Yeah.
Julie. And I think it's a bit more healthy, and specifically the whole like concept of educating, and the more you know, it's less scary. I think it's very intimidating from the outside looking at it all and being like, I don't know any of this, and it freaks you out. And honestly, it was reminding me very much of my filing taxes like this week, and like I have no clue, and I'm getting all overwhelmed because I just don't know certain things. And when I actually sit down and talk to the accountant who's explaining, I'm like, oh, this isn't so scary. Like, it's really just more intimidating when you don't have the knowledge. So I agree. And I think it's definitely a lot more healthy to look at it without the USC sometimes amount associated. But I did want to kind of transition into one of the next tools that Milton and I had on the list for just resources and things that, again, you can do every day. It doesn't really cost anything, and it's not going to take you a whole bunch of time. So I really think it's very applicable. This one is one of my favorites. It's definitely helped me the most. Speaking of like crypto and the instability and like the anxiety that then comes along with it, one of the best practices for me has been journaling. And I know this is very common, and we hear that word a lot thrown around. Just to clarify, I'm not talking about like, hey, dear diary, this and this and this happened today. I'm talking more about like specific prompts, or just a way to unload and like get all the ideas and everything that's swirling around in your head. Like, take it out of your head and put it on paper, so that it creates room to to get creative, to relax. Like, I think a lot of the whole anxiety comes in when it's just like things are being swirled around and there's no organization. And a lot of the things I specifically found helpful with journaling. And I know this conversation came up a little earlier in the beginning of the space regarding not being able to maybe vocalize how you feel, or having, I know Erica mentioned the whole salary conversation, and maybe that's difficult to have. Like, there are difficult conversations to have. And sometimes we don't always speak the way we want to speak in certain conversations that are uncomfortable. And so a lot of the journal prompts as well, like one of my favorite ones is writing a letter that I never send to someone, but I regret not saying certain things, or I have so much bottled up emotion that I'm just keeping inside and not having an outlet to release it. And so really writing out my thoughts and like laying it all out basically has really helped me in many ways. I don't know if there's other journal fans in here, but I would love to hear a couple of prompts if you guys like or have any recommendations, or again, drop them in the comments. Catalina, I saw your hand go up as I was talking about it. So go ahead if you want to add on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, lovely. I wanted to add something because one of the feeling of anxiety that is affecting me and a lot of the people that I know in this space is the fact that when you have lack of sales or something doesn't happen in your life the way you're expecting it, because whether we like it or not, we do have a little bit of expectations in us always. And break things down into smaller goals. If you think that you haven't achieved a certain goal, especially with me, if I don't have like a certain period of time without sales, for example, that's probably the biggest example, like the most common one that we can get, especially in the bear market the past 2 years. I slapped my microphone. Sorry about that. You probably have heard that. One of the things that I learned myself to do it is I'm doing a daily tasks. I have notebooks, and I'm someone who actually writes down on a pen and paper. And I have these notebooks when every day I have a tasks for the day list, and I write down smaller goals that I need to achieve, because sometimes when we get into that very like depressive emotion, and it's a spiral going down, because one negative emotion can cause other negative emotion, and you can't stop. You kind of, unless you become an observer, when you experience this, is very difficult to break out of it if it gets a little too heavy on your mind and your heart and soul. But once you break down all of your goals into smaller tasks and you start achieving them one by one, you start to realize that actually the bigger goal is a lot more achievable than you might think. And even if you don't think that you've achieved much, when you look at those tasks and you see, oh, but I've achieved all of the previous things, so I did achieve something. This is like the sense of achievement that you really need to tell yourself, I am actually working towards my goal. I might have not reached it yet, but that doesn't mean that I haven't put the effort and I'm not along the way. So you're basically registering each step of the way, which will help you then realize that how much you've come along until, well, because otherwise at the end of the day, you're always going to feel, sooner or later a little bit depressed. And I've been feeling this recently a lot. But when I look back and I read through all of these, this is like kind of a journal format, and you see, oh my God, I've achieved this and this and this. And make sure you write down every single milestone that you achieved, even if it's not directly towards this particular goal. It might actually lead you to another goal. And when you go at the end of the year, what I do is like I write down all of the small achievements and milestones throughout the year, just so I can have this sense that I have worked my way up and I've achieved something, even if it's not like the ultimate success, but I have reached and I have been through so many other steps that are still making us worth something. It's still making this journey worth fighting for. So yeah,
Catalina, I'm glad I'm not the only one that does this, because sometimes, honestly, I do need to remind myself, like, you're faced with this big challenge, project, whatever, and it feels overwhelming. And I have the same list in the back of my journal. It's just a list of different accomplishments and milestones. And I literally have to remind myself, like, do I know who the F I am? And you have to hype yourself up. And once you
going to see all those accomplishments and you really take a moment to celebrate the previous wins, I think it just gets you hyped and just, ready for the upcoming maybe challenge that you felt before overwhelmed over. So I'm completely with you on that. And I
And
love
not
that
only
you
that,
also do it.
thank you so much for adding this, because it's not only that, it's the fact that this space is so fast paced that once you achieve something, you running towards the next one, because the FOMO is real. And we don't even have enough time to celebrate our achievements, because you're on to the next one, you're on to the next step, your next milestone. And this is really overwhelming to the brain, and both the brain and the body. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you for letting me.
No, on point. Thank you so much. Milton, I think I saw a hand pop up. Since you're the co-host, we can hop to you next. Were you going to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to check in on that idea. There's just a good quote about paddling. If you can imagine paddling from Hawaiian island to Hawaiian island, apparently this came from some of the tribes that used to do that. They would be looking, ambitious people look ahead. So if you're looking ahead, it takes a long time to get that distance, and you feel like you've made it nowhere until you simply turn around and look back and realize how far you've come. So just a simple idea that's it's a pretty strong concept, I think, is to look back at your achievements from time to time, and like Catalina and Vasia said, just to make sure to pat yourself on the back every now and again. As we're aspirational, I think it's smart to do that from time to time.
I love that. That was a great analogy. Okay, so I just want to quickly, since we're looking back real quick, we're looking back on a 2-hour space so far. So not to rush everyone, because I do want to get to all the hands that are up. But very quickly, I'm just going to run through 1 or 2 more things that are on my list, and then we'll share the mic one more time with guests, and then wrap it up with some key takeaways. So thank you guys for still hanging out. I'm loving the conversation. It's definitely been very insightful for me. Milton, the next thing that was on our list real quick, I wanted to talk about the importance of reframing your mindset. And so I'm sure a lot of you know what I mean by this, but I actually was at a friend's house recently and I saw she had this magnet on her fridge, and I thought it was honestly it really resonated. This is a single mom. She works a lot. She has 2 kids. And at the end of the day, majority of the time, she's spending the time in the kitchen, kind of cleaning up, washing dishes, etc. And she had this magnet on the fridge that something along the lines of, the fact that washing dishes just means that you had a family moment, that the kids are happy and that, they got to spend time. And it was really just readjusting and repositioning the fact that there were dirty dishes. So she still had to sit there and clean dishes, but instead of making it more of like a chore, it was reframing it to a narrative that was more positive. It was showing gratitude for what she has, the moment together as a family in the kitchen, the ability to put food on the table. Like, these are all things that we might take for granted, and we just, look at them in more of a negative perspective. But I really just love the fact that just by simply reframing it, it just kind of eased a little bit of the pain in something like a task like doing dishes. So I think this is very applicable to everything in life. You just got to reframe things, and of course very applicable to things in Web3. The other thing I wanted to mention very quickly is the importance of touching grass. We see that kind of being thrown around in the space a lot, and I genuinely mean it. Like, literally go touch grass, go outside, get some sunlight. Grounding, if you're not familiar with grounding, I highly recommend that practice. It's basically like get barefoot and touch grass. Milton lives in South Florida. The guy's lucky he gets to walk on the beach. I think that's super therapeutic. Getting just in touch with nature, going hiking, unplug and leave the screens behind. I think it's very, very healing, just reconnecting with nature. And I think it has, very much helped me kind of rebalance myself and get back to get back to a better mental state as well. Another thing on the list very quickly is just to smile. Randomly, do it for no reason. I mean, Julia put on the music, I was bumping and I was smiling. It uplifted my mood immediately. Do it while you're writing an email. Do it when you make eye contact with a stranger. And I love when they smile back at you. It just, amplifies the mood. I also wanted to quickly mention another thing on the list was spending time with those that you love. This kind of needs no explanation. And the last thing before I swing the mic around to the remainder of the guests on stage, I just wanted to mention this is number 1 for me
on my list, I know it's not applicable to everyone, but I did want to mention it because it does resonate heavy with me, is I grew up Greek Orthodox, so I do believe in God. I know everyone has different preferences, spiritual or not, but whether it's the universe or people believing in energy, ultimately, I think it all boils down to just having faith. And I think faith can carry you a very long way when you sometimes don't have the faith in yourself or you don't have the belief in yourself. And so I just wanted to very quickly end my little list of tools and resources that again are free. It's something that you can do today. It doesn't take up that much time, but it's been life-changing for me. And if you chip away and start implementing some of these slowly over time, I'm telling you, it's going to make the world of a difference. It definitely has changed my life in the last couple of months, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. I've been loving the conversation and hearing from everyone that's been contributing regarding what they like to do and what's helped them. I guess the last opportunity before we kind of segue into some wrap-ups, did anyone else want to share any last things? Karina, I do see a hand up. Do you want to start us off maybe?
No, I want you to say about the journaling because I heard you about the journals and you asked. I was down.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm keeping 5 journals, not only one. I have 5.
This is why you don't sleep, Karina.
No. I'm a very sleepy person, you know. I need to take this shift in the past 2 months because the work was really hard. But in the reality, I'm a very I'm a very sleepy person. One that has to be on the bed at maximum 11 o'clock. So anyway, not about that. I want to speak about journaling. That it's very important to, for me at least, it's very important to have variables to keep them very well organized. And the thing Catalina says, it's important to set small ideas, you know, small goals, and try to do each day something to achieve them, because the fact that you are constant each day, that is the routine. The routine is very important, you know. The most of us hate the routine, but the routine, I think, is the most important in our lives, because if we set the right routine every day, we are able to achieve goals, and also celebrate our wins is very important. That's why when you have a journal, you can come back, read, meditate, and even if you didn't have the win, you ask yourself, why I didn't have this win? Why? Maybe I am wrong, or maybe I don't know, maybe I did something wrong, or maybe do I have to change the way I see, you know, the everything. So yeah, this I wanted to say. Thank you so much, Vasia.
Anytime. Thank you so much for contributing and adding on to the conversation. Catalina, I think you had a hand up. Do you want to add on?
I think Julia had the hand up before me. If she wants to go, I can go after her. So it's absolutely okay.
Oh, thanks, Catalina. Yeah, I just feel bullish, especially for artists too. I see like a lot of artists here. I've been here for too long, so if I've had to have a stomach for some stuff. People would cry like at some of the things that could say about the crypto, like from early days to now, to what just how I like. What the biggest thing I think I see is like how during bear market there is so many different opportunities, and I think I see maybe this is more of like an Ethereum space. So I find that the new the new scaling that Vitalik is doing is actually kind of interesting. I'm supportive, and I think it's really cool. I think the other thing too with let's say you did set up Node or doing that, you can choose. You have a voice, so when the chains fork, you can still participate in whether you choose to align yourself with those set of rules or not. The other thing I think on like a more technical side of things, and I hope this inspires and brings hope, is that like there was many artists I know that got to go on the Vegas Sphere, and it's an incredible piece of work. If you can look at the file size of the sphere, on a technical standpoint, it's around that runs at a 16K, um, you know, thing. So right now, mass distribution in the US, if you're here, is roughly around 5K, and that's at the mass scale. So what I think is really interesting on the art side of things, and art, we have had artists that have gone, and demonstrated on that, and then they still feel um, imposter syndrome, which is ridiculous because it's magnificent. What's going to happen too, what I think was really interesting with the demos that came out, and it was very stealthily launched, but there was mass distribution of 8K, and we don't have 8K yet. But due to kind of the way that our country's sort of set up and our ability to mass stream, what's really interesting is Korea is actually going to be the leader in mass distribution of 8K. So if you can kind of
Julia, not
see,
to cut you off. I'm so
Mhm.
sorry, not to cut you off on the technical aspects, but I just really loved one of the things you mentioned, and how specifically it ties into the whole mental health component
Mhm.
is imposter syndrome. And I think that's interesting. It didn't come up at all during the space, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
something I've definitely experienced, and I know a lot of people, and you mentioned artists as well, and really breaking through that, which is not easy. And I think one of the important ways to do so is having like a good support system around you that's kind of uplifting and reminding you of who you are. And like Catalina mentioned in the journaling prompts as well, writing down those achievements and those milestones and really being able to hype yourself up, because imposter
Yeah,
syndrome is, yeah, you standing in the way of
absolutely.
yourself in many ways. And I think it just, you are your worst nightmare, basically. You're standing in your own way. So I love that you mentioned that. Thank you for bringing up imposter syndrome. I didn't mean to cut you off on the technical stuff, but I did want to just make sure
I
that we
can
had enough time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just saying that as far as like on that thing, I would definitely think that as far as just on maybe the other side of things, art is very, very important. If you're selling whatever it is that you're selling in the ways that it's going to go, what's going to happen with that 16K and 8K distribution is interactive features, and authentication is incredibly important for that. So if you can kind of see that path and where that's going, I would say if you're an artist, now is the time to definitely get hyped up and see how early you actually are. Those distributions don't get rolled out until every 5 years. Those opportunities to have that are on the table right now. I'm a collector. I love seeing art. I love talking to artists. I also was an art teacher. So I've been here for a while. So if I can just offer any consolation of that, that would be my biggest thing to say, is just, see that path and honor the canvas that you're on, and the nature is crypto. I've definitely seen it all. So, yeah, you would cry, but I don't. And I look at solution oriented things. So that's the biggest thing that I'd say, because it's on the table right now. And I'm sure uh, there's lots of people that are around that are, looking for those opportunities and those artists. So yeah, I'm happy to look at everybody's stuff here and support and like, and thank you so much for the opportunity. This is an incredible space, but the fork is really interesting. That's all I wanted to say.
No, thank you, Julia. I appreciate you, and I love having new guests joining and discovering our spaces, and I love the fact that you felt comfortable to join the stage and contribute. So thank you. And I love the term solution oriented. I think it's something that came up throughout the conversation. I'm glad there are not many people, at least on the stage, talking about the victimhood mentality. Yeah, I think that's very important. Milton, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add, but I did want to kind of wrap it up with the key takeaways that we usually do at the end of the space. So I'll give you the mic first if you wanted to add anything or.
No, today I was mostly on the sidelines taking notes because I need to implement a lot of these great ideas. I think it's easy to hear a lot of them, a little harder to implement, but I just thought particularly what stuck with me was journaling because I used to do that. And I thought about how much fun it was to read. And a matter of fact, I did it via Hotmail when I was traveling. I was sending a lot of letters via my old email account, and I've been trying my damnedest to break into that because I've located a few of those old emails and stories of traveling through Southeast Asia, and it's just really fun to read. So it's nice to look back on some of your fun times. So it just brings a smile to your face. But yeah, I obviously took a lot of notes, Vasi. You can see them live. So I told you I was going to be doing that most of the space, and that was true. But I thought we had great people up on stage today. I really liked what F. Dot said about the difference between problems and challenges and ignoring what you can't control. I'm definitely taking that one to heart. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having these great people with us. It's good to see people coming on stage regularly. I would mention that. As far as mental health goes, seeing people sticking with you when a lot of people are dropping like flies in this industry is really refreshing. So I'm glad to have a lot of these familiar faces on stage with us week in, week out. I think that's a good place for me to leave it.
Milton, I don't know what kind of student you were in high school, but you've been killing it with the show notes. And it's really nice to go back and be able to read through these. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, I guess let's jump into some key takeaways. Oh, Catalina, I see a hand up. So before I wrap it up, any last quick comment you want to make?
Yes, thank you so much. One last thing that I wanted to mention. I do resonate with the imposter syndrome because I'm coming from a really small country in East Europe. No one knows about it. They don't even know who I am. So it always is a fear of mine, especially if English is not my first language. There's always a fear. If I jump on the stage, will I say something useful? Will I say something that will resonate with people? Will they believe me? Will they even understand what I'm trying to say? So one thing that I want to share, I feel that many of us are feeling the same way. Don't feel like that because our brains and our minds are unique. We are experiencing things a different way, and every single experience, we have such a large library of symbols and knowledge and skills and experience, and that's the beauty of this space. We're coming from different parts of the world and we're sharing our experience here, and even just a bit of just one grain of it's always going to be useful for someone else. So I'm really happy and thankful to be here in this space. And I wanted to wrap up with something that I want to give my biggest advice to everyone. You guys are loved. You're exactly where you're meant to be. You have the power to shape your story, and you have the power to create a dream life. So thank you so much for this space. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Catalina. I love how very much in alignment with a lot of things. Erica, actually, I see a hand up. So go ahead. You can close us off with one of the last comments.
Okay. Yeah, just along the lines of imposter syndrome, I agree. That's a really good one to bring up. I can't remember the exact sort of name of this technique, but there's kind of a spiritual teacher that's also sort of very practical. Her name is Caroline Myss, and it's spelled Myss, and she's been one of the most helpful people in terms of sort of going really deep and taking a look at sort of the truth within yourself and how to get there. And so I think there's a lot, the number one thing that I took away many years ago from her was just not all your thoughts are true. And it sounds so dumb, but I just think it's a really key kind of cornerstone to all this stuff, because I can't remember how it goes, but she basically let's say I was working with two friends of mine that were a couple, and they were about to break up basically. And we were doing a really hardcore session of sitting and trying to work things out. And so one of the things we did was the nonviolent communication was really helpful. When you say X, I feel Y and think Z. That's really, really helpful. But then this other thing is if you're struggling with sort of this thing where you're I don't know if this is true. I keep repeating this really negative thing. It's this exercise where you can take this thought that stresses you out a ton and just write it down, or just put it in front of yourself somehow and just say okay, look at that statement. Write down what the scariest statement is that you could write down, and then look at that statement and say okay, is that true? And because you've been, reinforcing it yourself for so long, there's a good chance you might go, yeah, it is true, damn it. You know what I mean? But then you take it one step forward and you go, can you absolutely be sure that that's true? And then sometimes it starts to fall apart and you're actually, okay, I can't. Like maybe, and then the next step is, who would you be without that thought? And it's just like really interesting when you're doing this with someone, because you'll see them just like relax. All of a sudden they're like, oh my God, like I've been like torturing myself with this horrible statement about myself. Like I wouldn't be mean to my friend like this, but I'm going to be mean to myself. Right. And then the fourth one is like, can you turn it around? And this is where it's really trippy in terms of psychology, is like sometimes you'll say the exact opposite of that statement, and that's actually what's true. But because we're so afraid of our light, and we're so afraid of like success, and maybe the fears that come with that, or just, of actually, maybe you have a family member, especially a parent, that like didn't want to see you succeed, sadly, then that's baked into you. You know what I mean? That's baked in, that like you're not supposed to succeed. So anyway, I just got off on rants today. But the last thing I would say is just that, someone brought up parents and having like a sort of dysfunctional parent, or a parent that's even maybe abusive. Like when you go through the work of working through a parent that's abusive, the most fascinating thing I feel like is that once you realize like, oh, that was extremely dysfunctional my entire childhood or whatever. Once you come to terms with like what they did, which is supposedly, there's a lot of judgment there that can come up, but it can also just be sort of an acknowledgement, like, oh, just looking at the truth here, no big deal. I don't need to be mad, whatever. Here's what they did. The coolest part to me is like all of a sudden you start to learn like what your shadow is, right? What your dark parts are. And so to me, like people are like, oh, I don't want to pick on my parent. I don't want to do anything, but sometimes do take a harder look and just be like, I just want to kind of know it for myself, even if you're not going to like confront someone, because oftentimes then you really start to like realize what your sort of blind spots are. But anyway.
Erica, thank you. If there's any resources, I know you mentioned a couple different things, drop it in the comments, please, for people to also go back and reference that might be listening to it later. But thank you. I love it. And I definitely believe that self-awareness is one of the most crucial and important things. And it's not always the easiest. But once you're able to kind of be aware of those things, that's where I think the real growth begins. So thank you, everyone who's contributed to the conversation today. I had a lot of fun. I think, again, a lot of interesting points brought up. I am just going to close this out with the usual key takeaways. Overall, just one thing to circle it back to Web3. I think it's extremely important to just restructure expectations. And as a community, we need to really adjust what's normalized and normalizing taking care of ourselves. Like we should all unplug and not having the whole 24-hour cycle and the FOMOing. Like it's okay to step away, and it's okay to, again, like miss out on certain things. You're not gonna hit everything. One of the things that I actually more recently started realizing is when you're in this position of like you're not sure what to do, maybe you're in limbo between a project, or you're not sure what to do next. One of the most important things I keep reminding myself is just work on you. And it's come up throughout the conversation, like the life coach kind of approach, or maybe it's reading books to better yourself, podcast. I love masterclass as well. There's a lot of free resources on YouTube and online. And I think it's also super important to surround yourself with those that inspire you. So whether that's people in the space or, famous people that are just inspirational and resonate with you, the more that you kind of tend to your own garden and grow yourself as an individual, you start then attracting more opportunities, more abundance, like-minded individuals that are going to continue to elevate you and propel you forward. And so I think, again, when in those moments of like, I don't know what to do and I'm freaking out, take a second and just take time to work on you. Because again, you're going to be the biggest investment that you ever work on. So make sure you really invest. And I think another key takeaway is just to take action, no matter how small. Obviously stay consistent. And I think it's just, day by day, obviously it's going to accumulate and you're going to start seeing major changes. And the last kind of takeaway is that we're all in this together. Rachel mentioned it in the very beginning, how crucial community is. You are never alone. I know a couple of people on this space very generously also just mentioned, you're more than welcome to reach out, to DM us. I'm going to say, obviously for myself as well, please guys, don't hesitate. Feel free to reach out, just have a conversation. I think making those connections is really why we're all still here in Web3. So yeah, I'm going to close this out on that note. And again, just want to thank all the guests for jumping on stage and contributing contributing. Thank you to those that have been listening. We are here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Milton, thank you for being an amazing co-host. I did want to just redirect our attention one more time up top. I have a pinned tweet about the newsletter. We send that out every single week, just a reminder about the spaces and what else we have going on with the agency. So make sure to subscribe, follow us on all the major streaming platforms in case you miss an episode. These all get uploaded on Spotify, Apple Music, and the works. So on that note, Milton, I don't know if you're going to be able to beat the two DJs that made a guest appearance on today's space, but I'm going to swing you the mic to DJ us out.
You know what? If you can't beat them, join them. So Julia Sky, with all the energy, she was playing Riz by A-Boy. So we're going to play Riz by A-Boy on the way out. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, remember, touch some fucking grass.
Thanks for tuning in to Moments the Podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe and follow us to keep up with all the latest trending Web3 topics. Join us every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern on X for our live space and be a part of the dialogue.